after strikes on a major bridge that was still under construction. State media claims Iran is expanding its retaliatory targets to include U.S.-linked steel and aluminum sites and an Oracle data center in Dubai. The UK hosting a virtual summit of countries considering ways to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says diplomatic, political and military measures are all on the table, but plans will only be put into action once the fighting has stopped.
Fox's Jonathan Savage in London. Oil prices spiking after the Trump address on Iran last night. U.S. crude topping $112 a barrel during the session. And stocks have been tumbling, but a mixed finish. And the Dow down 61 at the bell. America's listening to Fox News.
Spring cleaning is upon us, but there's one meaningful box that you don't throw away when cleaning out your closet. It's the box filled with your family's important videotapes, film reels, and photos. Hi, I'm Adam Baselogger.
And I'm Nick Mako. We started Legacy Box over a decade ago to help families organize and update their analog media to digital.
Legacy Box is simple and easy. It works and is safe. Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box.
And Legacy Box has been featured in Good Housekeeping, The Today Show, and Rachel Ray.
Legacy Box is like magic, converting your shoebox of memories to the cloud or thumb drive, ready to watch and share.
Declutter your closet by digitizing your media. Become more organized and accomplished, knowing your family's recorded past is safe forever. Take advantage of our spring cleaning sale going on now. It's the easiest task to check off your to-do list.
For a limited time, you can get started for just $9 a tape. Visit legacybox.com/keepsake to get our $9 sale. That's legacybox.com/keepsake to get our $9 offer. legacybox.com/keepsake.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Mostly cloudy skies this afternoon. There'll be a couple of showers, a couple of thunder showers, but the action is limited. 79. It's windy tonight. A couple of showers and thunderstorms around. 62. Friday, partly sunny, but still some showers and thunderstorms around. 83. Saturday, keep it unsettled. Sunday, though, for Easter is dry. It's sunny at 55. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Why do you want to be here? Why do you love space? Why do you love being a part of history?
We're going back to the moon, that's why.
That was like a kid who said that. I thought that was so awesome, right? And he's right. Right? I think that was so cool. Look, I geeked out after we did that yesterday, so we covered all the Artemis 2 liftoff, and when I got home, I was looking at John Brown, who joined us yesterday from down there at the Kennedy Space Center, former St. Louis reporter. He had some great content up on Facebook and on the X that I've been following. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. As I was driving home, I was listening to a little bit about what the next steps were, and we do have some good audio for that. So this is going to kind of be fun. Fred and I were introduced to somebody today who is a bit of a local space expert that we'll probably try to get on next week, I think, right?
That's right. You know, I was listening to Sue and you near the end of the show yesterday, and I agree with Sue. Once that rocket took off, I was really kind of nervous until, it got past that certain point. I didn't think I'd be affected, but I was like, oh, man, this better work.
Right? I agree with you just because you just don't know. And, remember, I didn't want to say anything because it's almost like a pitcher having a no-hitter. You don't want to jinx something. But when we were airing the Fox coverage, Brett Baer, he sort of indicated that. I mean, look, he basically said what a lot of people were thinking because you just don't know. And it was a flawless liftoff, and then separation went well. And they had a couple of little kinks, like they had a communication thing that went out just for a very short time. I think there was some issue with the bathroom up there too. I don't know if that's good, but it is what it is.
Answer, that is not good.
No, I don't think so. The thing that I was wondering about is, and this is what I want to ask you, if we get Butch Wilmore on. Butch is someone who's been on Fox talking about some of this, and he's really, really been good. Here, for example, here he says what's going to happen today, what they're doing today.
The translunar injection burn is the next big event that'll put them on track, not just to the moon, but also that slingshot around the moon and all the way back to an eventual splashdown landing off the coast of San Diego. thrilling times, these initial steps for what will come in the future, and our dominance, our nation's dominance of space is important as we go forward. And this is not just for now; this is for the decades to come.
You know, and I saw something today that I want to focus on because I think it's important into the future. We might not be around soon, Fred, when this all happens, but we are indigenous people on the moon. I think you realize that. So anybody who tries to claim that territory, it's our territory. We planted the flag, so any of the Chi-Coms or the Russians get up there, we don't want any part of that. That whole slingshot thing, though, it's out of a movie. Because it's just so crazy what they have to do just to get into the orbit. Now, the question that I was going to ask to Butch Wilmore is, I know these guys are trained and there's things that happen, but like, what if you can't get to sleep? Like, I wonder if they have sleep medication.
Oh, you'd wonder about that.
Well, I would, because I have sleep issues, right? So that would be awful. First of all, you're in that little cabin, but I didn't know if they had anything, because they said yesterday, once they got separation out there and everything, the helmets come off and, they can do some things in the spacecraft to test it, et cetera. So it's pretty cool. And I think we're going to get a good, good set of reporting here back to Earth here in the next few days, the next 10 days. And then they'll splash down in the Pacific Ocean again near San Diego when it's all over. Let's see here. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to get to. Look, Pam Bondi is out today as Attorney General. I guess that's the big story of the afternoon. Brian Kilmeade's coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We'll talk about that. Her name has been mentioned for a while as someone who is probably on the outs. It's a little hard to tell exactly what happened here, but this was not a surprise to anyone this morning when it came to the news. Here's what President Trump said on Truth Social. Pam Bondi is a great American patriot and a loyal friend who faithfully served as my Attorney General over the past year. Pam did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country, with murders plummeting to their lowest level since 1900. We love Pam. She'll be transitioning to a much-needed and important new job in the private sector be announced at a date in the near future. Mainly because I don't think they know what that is at this point. And our Deputy Attorney General, very talented and respected legal mind, Todd Blanche, will step in to serve as Acting Attorney General. Thank you for all your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So the name that's being considered here, former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin, who's the EPA administrator. I'm not so sure you don't leave Todd Blanche in that position, but we're certainly going to find out as we move along. This was interesting. Peter Doocy was talking about how he kind of broke the story. He was hearing some rumors. He called the president.
This morning, as some of these reports were crossing, I called the president and said, what is going on with Pam Bondi? And he explained that he is a fan of hers and that he thinks that she is a good person. He still wants her in the fold. He says now in a job close to the administration in the private sector, but he feels like it is time for a change at the top of the Justice Department.
Now, they're trying to play this off as, and I think for the most part it is, she just tweeted something out, too, saying she's excited. She thanked Trump, but, it was friendly.
We've seen some administration folks leave, and Trump does not have nearly such friendly things to say about them. So obviously it was important to him to salute her on the way out. It's not like he's saying, hey, don't let the door hit you. He's saying she did a good job. He likes her, and he still wants her in the fold in some way. But the sense that we've gotten here over the last couple weeks is that something was happening at the top of the Justice Department. And for whatever it is that the administration has planned for the next couple months, as long as an acting attorney general can serve, he felt more comfortable with Todd Blanche being there. And so it's kind of a thanks for your service, Attorney General Bondi, but we have some work to do with Todd Blanche.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's even some stuff out there that Trump was frustrated with some of the Epstein files stuff. That's been lingering out there for months, though, literally, even before the first of the year. There is a rumor this afternoon that, she was tighter with Eric Swalwell than she should have been, who's running for governor of California. So I don't know what the truth is, but Pam Bondi's out, and hopefully we can get a good replacement. It was hard to tell exactly what the hell she was doing anyway, right, Fred? I don't know if there's more to it or what's going on.
She was with the president yesterday in the Supreme Court, sat there right next to him for the whole hearing.
Well, something tells me she knew this was coming as well. That would be really weird if you sit there with him for 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 45 minutes and he doesn't, or hour and 45 minutes, I'm sorry, and he doesn't say anything. But this has been rumored for a while. So, Sue, have you heard something went very viral? Fred, you haven't heard this yet,
No,
have
I
you?
haven't.
Okay, this is interesting. So the Mets and the Cardinals were in action action when we were on the air, 24 hours ago. And the Cardinals got an 11th inning walk-off, which was really, really cool. So they win the series. So the first 2 series of the year, they've won 2 out of 3. That's a great start considering, all the chatter about this team.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So Gary Cohn is the play-by-play guy for the New York Mets. And I think you'll hear Todd Zeile on the broadcast here. Todd Zeile used to be a St. Louis Cardinal.
Yeah.
So they were kind of commenting on some of the things that they were seeing, and this has not been something that has been, I guess, been received too well in all circles. Now, I have some opinions here. Sometimes I think Sue and I disagree on these things, so we'll see. Here's what they said.
The only thing missing from that picture, as is often missing from every picture we show of downtown St. Louis, no people.
No people. Well, they want it to look picturesque. You can see a car driving by on the right. That's the only sign of life.
But there's never anybody walking around in downtown St. Louis.
It's not very often, you're right.
It's like, remember the old neutron bomb that didn't knock down buildings but just would eliminate all the people? It's like one of those hit St. Louis.
I guess it's just a photo op. People then run and hide, so they're not in the photo.
So you remember what I said a couple of days ago on this show? I went off on a little rant, and I said, because I was coming back, this was on Tuesday, coming back from the Cardinals media luncheon. So I come back from Busch Stadium, to the west to kind of wind around and get back here to 13th and Olive. And I sat through 2 or 3 lights where literally not one car went by when we were stopped. And I made the case, and I still make the case, that there is literally, this is sad, there's literally no reason to have functioning traffic lights in downtown St. Louis, at least this part of downtown St. Louis, because there's not enough traffic. That's what they're pointing out. That they should be flashing lights all the time, unless something's occurring downtown, like a Blues game. Because I'm telling you, someone should go out there like David Amaletti from Channel 4 and just set a camera up and watch the lack of vehicles that are going by. Bill Burr, great comedian, I saw him. This was 10 years ago. And he opened up the show at the Fox. He goes, St. Louis! He goes, what is going on downtown? Did they film The Walking Dead here? Because nobody was downtown. So this is where I get very cynical on the city. You have a hard time convincing me that in 5 years, in 10 years, we're going to be listening to a baseball broadcast when I'm on the cusp of dying probably and in retirement after I get fired from this gig finally. And we're not going to be saying, oh, look at downtown flourishing with all these new develops in the AT&T building, all that stuff. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. And what they did is just speak the truth about St. Louis and downtown. They see it when they're here. I see it every single day, every day. Channel 5's not here. Channel 4's not here. Everybody's left.
I am of 2 minds about this. First of all, I think the more we talk down about St. Louis, the more people avoid it. And then of course, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yet on the other hand, if the city cannot get crime in hand, this is what's going to happen and just keep going. So unless we have somebody who goes in and says, you know what? We're going to give more money to the police. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get crime in check. Then everything can return to normal. But I really think that we really do become a self-fulfilling prophecy about there's no.
I hate to be so negative, but I've talked about this in terms of the last 20 years when I first was on KMOX, going back, to the late 2000s or, when Obama was president. And I would defend downtown because people in Chesterfield would say, oh, it's too dangerous. I'm like, stop it. It was, because I don't think it was back then.
It wasn't.
But a lot of things have happened. Think about what's just happened in 2 years. And I mentioned Channel 4 and Channel 5. There's other companies, too, that have moved out. So there's really not a lot of activity at all. So how anyone thinks they can redevelop a big building and then tear down a hotel down by the riverfront and get all this renovation and, have people come downtown and swarm and it's going to be very exciting. Where's the path for that? We need, to your point, we need more than just the crime thing. We need a mayor. We need a board of aldermen who aren't back blank crazy like Megan Green. And that's simply not on the horizon. So I'm tired of talking this way about the city of St. Louis because I'm tired of the way we never make any progress. And that's embarrassing what happened on the Mets broadcast. It should be. We should be embarrassed by it. Our leaders should be embarrassed by it because they don't do anything to change it. So there we go.
They don't.
Off on my rant here. Fred's just looking, man. When he's going to stop? What is he going to do? But we're off and running here. We got Kilmeade coming up in just a couple of minutes. Mark Judge. I love Mark. He is a journalist, a filmmaker. He was the guy that got mentioned when Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed because they hung out in high school, and he was out made to be the bad guy and all that. But Mark's an interesting dude. He writes at hotair.com. He joins us next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a couple of accidents to mention. One is northbound 270 approaching 6440. Then we had a report of emergency vehicles eastbound 70 near Cypress. Watch for that on the right shoulder. An accident northbound 170. Now this one is near Frost, and it's blocking the left shoulder, but it's close enough to the left lane that it's partially blocked as well. So expect some slow-moving traffic. Police have just arrived and officially blocked that left lane. That is the worst of it. And we had some light rain move through the area. So watch out for wet roadways. Southbound 55, is a little slow already at Bates and at 141. And westbound 40 is now at about Hampton, and it slows out through McCausland before it opens up. If you're headed into Illinois, eastbound 70 slows at 64, and 64 eastbound is slow in the construction zone just east of 157. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, thank you, Sue. I want to talk about MasterCars Inc. in Granite City. Okay, this is even throwing me off. I'm up on their website right now, which is great, by the way. It's mastercarsinc.com, and they actually have a 2023 Sea-Doo RXPX 300 Apex. So it's like, things that you can put in the ocean, in the Lake of the Ozarks. I've never seen them sell that at MasterCars Inc., but they have that on the lot right now. They also have a lot of Corvettes. They're the Corvette Kings. They have a Ford Mustang that looks beautiful from 2003. A lot of Harleys on the lot. But the other thing that they can do for you is find a very specific vehicle. Give them a make and model. Say, I want 5,000, 10,000 miles on it. They're not a new car dealer. Used cars, but new car caliber. And I bought several cars from MasterCars Inc., and it's awesome because the car looks new and it feels new. It's got some miles. You don't spend as much. They can do everything for you, finance, etc. They'll take great care of you at MasterCars Inc. Father and son team, Alex and Gary Rosenberger, do me a huge favor. Tell them that I sent you over. MasterCarsInc.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
When a parent struggles with addiction or dies from a drug overdose, what happens to their children? Far too many end up in foster care, unable to ever return to their birth homes because it's simply not safe. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is fighting the clock so that teens don't age out of foster care, leaving them at a higher risk of addiction and other negative outcomes that can happen to a child without the love and stability of a permanent family. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, Brian Kilmeade coming up at the bottom of the hour. Sue Thomas, remember yesterday when I said there is a chance that we will get my best friend, actor Andrew McCarthy, on the show tomorrow, right?
Yes.
And you said, is he going to be in studio? And I said, no. He might be in studio tomorrow, Sue.
What?
Because he's got an event. See, this whole thing, I reached out to him a few days ago because I knew the book was out, but I didn't know that he was coming to St. Louis this weekend. So there is a chance that
gosh,
Mr.
I
Andrew
have to go
McCarthy
get my
will
hair
be.
done.
I'm just telling you, he might be here. Last time I had him in, all the ladies swung by the studio to get a look. But that was like 8 or 9 years ago. But I'm going to keep you posted. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because he's the one. He said, hey, I can pop into the studio. So let's hope that he is able to do that. I'll keep you posted.
Thank you for telling me.
Yeah, and the book is really interesting about male friendships, and it's very unique. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. We have Mark Judge back with us, journalist and filmmaker. He's the author of The Devil's Triangle, Mark Judge versus the New American Stasi. He wrote a piece in Hot Air that caught my attention. I always like speaking with him because he's pretty fascinating and opinionated. Hi, Mark. How are you? Welcome back.
I'm fascinating and opinionated. How are you today?
So before I get, because I thought this was very interesting, the story that was going to be done about you in the Washingtonian magazine. I know who you are. I've followed all this stuff. I know the Brett Kavanaugh connection. But if we were just to ask you, who is Mark Judge, for the audience who might be a little confused out there, who is Mark Judge?
Well, they'll probably know or might not know that I was near ground zero of the Kavanaugh hit in 2018. I went to high school with him. Long story short, Oppo researchers and the media tried to bring him down by embroiling him with my adolescence, which was considerably more wild than his. They failed because I refused to lie about my friend. And that's what happened. And that's what my book is about.
So you were recently reached out to by the Washingtonian magazine, and there was a reporter, I think her name was Kathy Alter, who wanted to do a profile. And you thought it was pretty, it went well, right? You spent some time with her. She interviewed you. You thought the piece was going to get published. You probably were a little suspicious because journalists are always just a little, suspicious. But the process overall went well for you, right? You thought?
It went quite well. This was and is, because the story exists, they just refused to publish it. This is a 6,000-word deep dive into me, and even with my ego, I don't think I'm that fascinating. But she talked to me about my childhood. She interviewed me at Georgetown University at an Irish pub where my parents used to like to go, in Potomac, Maryland, where I grew up. Talked to old high school friends from Georgetown Prep, old girlfriends, asked for old pictures. The gist was, I'm not interested in Kavanaugh. That was a few years ago. This is a human interest story about trauma. I will just quickly say, my grandfather was a baseball player for the Washington Senators. My father was an editor at National Geographic. My brother won the Helen Hayes Award for the best actor in Washington. There was no question that I am a Washingtonian.
Right.
That could have gone in Washingtonian magazine. That was beyond dispute. So we spent a couple of weeks together. She asked for old pictures and everything. And last November, I got an email from the art director at Washingtonian magazine saying we have to set up a photo shoot. And then silence.
And then on March 31st, you get a text from her, and she says the Washingtonian is killing the story, and she apologizes, right?
And she followed up on Facebook and said she is still today disappointed in this. She said they're killing the story. And here's the thing, a couple things. The guy who assigned it, the managing editor, Patrick Hruby, some reporter from some outlet has to do their job and just contact this guy and say, why did you commission a 6,000-word profile
and then
from
kill it?
An experienced and then kill it from an experienced and pedigree journalist? Why did you kill it? Secondly, this piece should be published somewhere. First things, Quillette, the Daily Caller, the Daily Signal. Some conservative outlet has to give her the money that she lost from Washingtonian and publish this thing and the audio tape of our interview. I'm a conservative. Let it out there.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, you know what was interesting? In her text, she says, and I didn't know if this was like real, she says, how about I take some of my kill fee and treat you to a fancy meal? Is there really a kill fee that sometimes they're afforded? I'd never heard that before. Or was she just joking?
Old school.
Oh, really?
No, they used to do that old school. They give you a kill fee. But that's ridiculous, too. I mean, I've known Kathy for 30 years. She's a fair and good reporter, but her whole tone was, yeah, this kind of sucks. They killed it. I spent 2 weeks with you. Talked to all your old friends, took up time of people who were working at their jobs to ask about you, but hey, whatever. And my response is, well, why aren't you angry? Why don't you want this thing? A lot of it could be unflattering to me. I'm not saying it's flattering,
right.
But why don't you want this thing published? It's the digital age. You have 6,000 words on somebody who was involved in a pretty important political nightmare. Why not get it out there? Let's have National Review or City Journal, Christopher Rufo, somebody say, let's publish this thing and the interview. Good or bad for Mark Judge, let's just be free people and let's get it out.
But the answer to the question why they wouldn't publish it is, you believe, because it was somewhat flattering, right? It wouldn't show you out to be the bad guy.
Well, I think it humanized me because I'm not a bad guy. I mean, I'm not a saint, but I'm not the way the media depicted me. And yes, if she made me at all sympathetic by talking about trauma and the struggles people have who are attacked by the American Stasi, I'm sure the editor saw that thing and said, well, we can't do this. I mean, we have to kill this thing. I mean, let me put it this way. In their recent issue, April issue, there's a little profile of who? Deborah Katz. Who's Deborah Katz? Christine Blasey Ford's lawyer.
Really?
So, yes. So
well, that's interesting.
For your listeners, I was going to say Christine Blasey Ford said Brett Kavanaugh sexually attacked her, and I was in the room when it happened. Blasey Ford's lawyer is featured in the April issue of Washingtonian, Deborah Katz. She should be, well, I'm not going to say that, but she's in the April issue of Washingtonian, which is fine. Let her in there, but let my profile run also.
Yeah, that's quite stunning. It really is. In your piece that you wrote that I read on Hot Air, Mark, you talked about someone named Monica McLean. Explain who she is.
She is an old childhood friend of Christine Blasey Ford's, one of Blasey Ford's quote-unquote beach friends. She helped set this whole thing up. She was with her at the hearings. And what the media doesn't like to report on is Monica McLean worked for the FBI for 24 years. She, as Blasey Ford reveals in her book, Monica McLean will no longer speak to Christine Blasey Ford. She was referred to under a different name in Blasey Ford's book, will not return texts, will not return phone calls. And there's no reporter out there who's willing to go to Rehoboth Beach or call her up and say, why?
Yeah, that's weird, right?
Nobody. It's all weird. And Monica McLean's lawyer, David Loffman, who's a real deep state guy, the Oppo researchers, Keith Kogler, a guy who was doing Oppo research for Blasey Ford. I talk about all this stuff. And if they have fact checkers at Washingtonian and they're fact checking the things I'm claiming, and they say, O.S.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. Man, I do hope you get someone on Substack or a Chris Roofer or someone to go with it and get the piece out, because I feel that would be certainly justified. How is the Anti-Communist Film Festival going right now?
So we have an official sponsor, the Victims of Communism Foundation. President Eric Patterson is working with me. We have a GoFundMe up there, but there should be an official announcement soon. Hopefully we will have it an event at the Victims of Communism Museum with a theater as a backup, because we think it's going to attract a lot of people. So the short answer is it's moving ahead. I have an official sponsor. We're getting rights to show some of these movies, and we think this is going to happen, and this is so needed in this culture right now.
So Zoran Mamdani is going to be your keynote, right?
He can sell popcorn, man. Come on. But you saw about how the AFI blew us off, right?
No.
If you Google Mark Judge AFI Breitbart News, for a few months, the American Film Institute woman said, okay, this is an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good idea. And then they spiked us.
Of course.
And Breitbart wrote about it. So
that's too bad.
I love Washingtonian.
I love what you're putting together. So keep me posted on that, Mark Judge. Always great to have you on here in St. Louis. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. Brian Kilmeade on deck.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads this afternoon, a couple of incidents. One was emergency vehicles eastbound 70 near Cypress. Those are on the shoulder, so if you're traveling by the airport, it really is okay. But there's an accident northbound 170 near Frost. And this one has been blocking the left shoulder, but then they came in and blocked the left lane. It looks to me like we've got a vehicle in the grassy median. So we've got a jam in that area. Now, the other jam is due to an accident on northbound 270. And this one is approaching 64. So if you're traveling in that area, there are delays behind it. This, by the way, is in the two right lanes. Now, other than that, it's been the usual volume westbound 6440, Kings Highway out through McCausland. But now we've got an accident reported eastbound 64, really close to Vandeventer. And there's a jam there as well. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, guys, I want to talk about Game Day Men's Health and Matt Lawrence. I've gotten to know him. He has an awesome location. They got a lot of locations across North America, this country, and in the 51st state of Canada. But Game Day Men's Health can help you, and maybe you're just looking for a little bit of extra energy at the end of the day, and you're noticing that as you get older, testosterone levels decrease. They can help you with testosterone therapy to boost your energy. But that's not the only thing they do. And the one thing I want to emphasize is they're still offering a free consultation. So you just have to book an hour-long appointment. They're going to keep to that time frame. You'll have blood work back in 20 minutes. I almost said 20 seconds. Matt will kill me on that. But 20 minutes, that's pretty fast. And then they'll come up with a treatment plan. Now, maybe it's not TRT. They have medical weight loss options for you. They have anti-aging options, peptides and vitamins where you can revitalize from within. And one thing Matt's told me is there's a lot of misinformation about that online. They're the experts at Game Day Men's Health. Sexual wellness and ED, you name it. Medical weight loss, even for women at Game Day Men's Health. So the location I recommend is in Chesterfield, right off Highway 6440, Olive and Clarkson, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Do us a huge favor. Tell them you heard about it here on 97.1 FM Talk. Game Day Men's Health, a men's health clinic built for every journey.
Hey, it's Annie, and I'm with my friend Stewie of Bagel Loan fame. Right now, Stewie, people are looking for access to cash, and there are a few ways that you can tap into your home, the equity, to try to get access to that cash. But I want you to tell folks why they need to think about the Bagel Loan.
Well, Annie, I have a great story. We had a customer that went ahead and was driving to a bank to get a home equity line of credit, and this is a bad financial vehicle. The reason it's bad, it's an adjustable rate mortgage. You have a certain term of time that you can take the money out, and then after that, bam, you get hit with a higher rate. These rates can go up and down like a yo-yo. You pay interest only, and before you know it, you started with a certain balance, and guess what? You got the same balance 5 years later. Be smart, refinance the house, take the cash out you need to consolidate the debt, do your home improvements, maybe go on vacation, do what you got to do, but do it with a 30-year or 20-year fixed rate. You'll be way ahead of the game.
And with the Bagel Loan, you pay no dollars in closing costs. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan. NMLS number 226715.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
3:34. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
We still have a lot to get to here this afternoon. We have a Thursday edition of Sue's News, of course, in the next hour. Curtis Houck from Newsbusters. After 5 o'clock, our friend Charles Lipson from the University of Chicago. And Heather McDonald, who's always great on crime and some other issues from the Manhattan Institute at 5:32. So we have a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. It's going to be a little weird. We'll be in the studio for the first time in 5 weeks because of the fish fries. But it is what it is on Good Friday. Tim Fitch on the panel, Jeff Rainford here as well. We'll have Paul Hall on entertainment. Frank Cusimano will take us into the weekend with sports. Neil Sosik from the Mighty Pines, one of the best bands in St. Louis. They have a new album coming out, and Neil's a friend. He made a great run on the show The Voice a few years ago, finished in the top 7. And then I'm keeping my fingers crossed because we've been trying to pull this off for a while now. Actor Andrew McCarthy, actor, writer, director, author. He's got a new book out. He is in St. Louis this weekend. Hopefully, we're going to have him in the studio in the 5 o'clock hour. Brian Kilmeade, who is coming to St. Louis in November, more on that in a moment, is with us this afternoon. You heard him on the radio this morning. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good, Mark Reardon.
Between the time of your radio show, or maybe it broke when you were on, because the big story of the day is Pam Bondi out as AG, right? Thoughts on that?
Well, I think Todd Blanche taking the job makes sense. He knows the president inside and out. He also probably knows what's possible. with the president of the United States, he's not a lawyer, but he'll say, why is this or why is that or why can't you prosecute this person? You need someone that understands Trump and understands the law and what's possible. Say, Mr. President, if I go do this, it's going to cause more problems than it's worth, and here's why. I think Todd Blanche gets that. He was the guy by his side through all the court cases, including the New York case. I'd rather that than taking someone like Lee Zeldin out of a spot where he's thriving at EPA, took on the additional job as trying to get insurance to fulfill homeowners, deals over out in Pacific Palisades. He's trying to help out in California since the governor and mayor do absolutely nothing for those people. So I do think that Lee Zeldin's an easier confirmation because he's so popular in the House with Democrats too. So I think the president would like that. But I do think that Pam Bondi was almost in an impossible situation. I'm not a lawyer, but she's somebody who's very loyal to the president, sees his frustration, and maybe did some things that got her over her skis a little bit. And I think the president ended in a positive way. She's going to do something in the private sector. Appreciate her. We're great friends. Thank you very much. A lot different than the first time.
Well, yeah, that's true. And look, this has been rumored for a while, if we're being honest. Her name has been out there as someone who might not hold on to that position. What is the thing I think about in situations like this, Brian, is what's the win for someone to take a position like that in an administration? You're Attorney General of Florida. Now, obviously the private sector is more lucrative, so maybe that's what it is. You get your name out there. But, man, a lot of these things don't end well, no matter how good a job or bad of a job you do.
I know. I mean, think about this. Merrick Garland wasn't really talking to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden wasn't talking to Merrick Garland. And Merrick Garland was vilified by the right. They thought he was terrible, and he okayed the raid on Mar-a-Lago, but he also okayed, after much pressure, the investigation of Hunter Biden, which is absolutely ridiculous that it took that long. But when you do the president's son, he never forgave you. Remember, William Barr did an unbelievable job defining what the coming in, and I thought just a great job for Senator Sessions. And at the end, they did a great job with the Mueller report, but they differed when it came to election corruption.
Right.
William Barr says, I don't see anything here. And the president said, you're fired.
Yeah.
So they ended up bad.
Yeah, it ends up that way a lot. Brian Kilmeade back with us tonight on 97.1 FM Talk. So what did you think of the speech last night? Did he move any needles? I said I thought the president maybe should have done that speech here a few weeks ago, laying out some of the goals and the missions for Iraq. My fear is that a lot of the people listening to us right now, they're dialed in, Brian, to what's going on. If they watch Fox, they listen to your show, my show. A lot of people out there, what they know about this is gas prices are going up, and they're going way up. And that's where I think uneasiness is right now. Now, if he can get out of this here in a couple of weeks, and he seems to be wanting to stick to a timetable, then I think things can settle down. But I do think that the window is going to narrow here quickly.
Yeah, I do think so, too. And I think 2 to 3 weeks we're going to see something substantial. I do think he has to open up the strait in order to leave. And I do think that he's got to do something with uranium in order to be successful. Now, they're going to keep on top of it. They can keep bombing it. That's okay. But he wanted to do something a little bit more sustainable because if you have somebody come in after him that's not J.D. Vance or a Republican, you have someone who says, let's do a deal with Iran.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be able to rebuild that. So he's trying to do something generationally. He's trying to destroy an enemy that's plagued 7 presidents. But you nailed it. I mean, the latest poll shows that this is the 5th most important thing to Americans. But the president made it number 1 because he feels as though I can't let this slide anymore. And they were building at least 200 missiles a month, medium and short-range missiles a month, thanks to China, which I think the Gulf states got to pressure China. You got to stop. It can't just be us, and I can't count on Europe. You got to just say, you got to stop arming Iran, or we're not doing business, and that'll get their attention.
What did you make of the deal? I guess we have a deal to end the partial shutdown. Chuck Schumer says Republicans and Trump caved. What's your take on that?
Well, in a way, they did. I mean, this is the deal. The Democrats got nothing out of it except for they didn't fund ICE. Really? Okay. So illegal immigrant criminals that have just killed 4 people in the last 6 weeks want to make sure they get to stay and kill others. All right. You want to hang your hat on that? Go for it. And you want to make sure that Border Patrol doesn't play a role in any of these cities. When Tom Homan already came in and restructured a more traditional ICE and a more traditional Border Patrol, you already got it. But you got nothing hardcore from that. Like you wanted to say these are the changes I made, and they were supposed to fund everything, and you got those changes. Instead, they ignored the changes, ignored that Noem's out, they ignored that Bavino's out, and they said we're just not going to fund it. And the Republicans came back and said, okay, you're not going to fund it. We're not going to give you any concessions. And they said, fine. And the House said, wait a second. How could you not fund Border Patrol? How could you not fund ICE? I'm not signing this. And the Senate was home. And then after a week of deliberating, they realized the Senate really couldn't do anything else. So they're coming back and they guarantee a reconciliation package on the president's desk June 1st. But we talked to Jason Smith on the radio show, chairman of Ways and Means. He says, I'm not optimistic we can do one. We can do another one. Because I don't know if I can get the votes, Republican votes in the House for additional spending. So, because we got the Freedom Caucus and you got Tom Massey, who's in a world of his own, so-called libertarian. You got a Trump hater like Don Bacon. So, you could only lose 3 guys.
Well, that's right. Yeah, of course. And Jason, of course, here from Missouri in Southeast Missouri, the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. Did you I heard Lawrence talking about this a couple of mornings ago, and I don't know if you talked about Tiger Woods, but I agreed with Lawrence when he said, look, Tiger Woods needs to be punished for what he did. He's going into treatment. He's getting help. I love the guy. I love what he did for golf. I think he needs to be punished here. First of all, he shouldn't have a driver's license, right? And I'm not so sure some shock time or something like that isn't warranted.
Well, I heard if you get two DUIs in 9 months, you go to jail. So in Jupiter. So we have that. I have no problem with him going out of the country to go to rehab.
Right, yeah.
But if you look at that video, he was a mess. And you see some of the still pictures of him in the car, he looks out of his mind.
Right, I know.
So
I watched, sadly.
Not drunk rowdy. It looks like prescription drugs.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
And maybe, we used to have a time that when you cover sports, Darryl Strawberry was out drinking all night, and Dwight Gooden is doing cocaine with his friends.
Yes.
And you have this, Kevin Mitchell was hanging out with gang members in San Diego. So you're like, wow, what bad decisions. But now we're looking at things where he's got back pain, he's got knee pain, he's Tiger Woods. What do you need? And maybe doing some Rush Limbaugh style doctor shopping. I'm not saying he did, but I'm not saying he didn't. So maybe one doctor says, I just gave him what he needed, and the other doctor said, he's Tiger Woods. He asked me for this. He didn't tell me he was seeing another doctor. So maybe it's something like that. But I think what got his attention is Vanessa told him, and he may let everybody know. No one denies it. If you don't straighten your act out, I'm done.
Right.
So does he want his whole life to fall apart again?
Yeah, he's got to get the help. There's no doubt about that. What do you got going on for the weekend show?
I think you guys, I'm going to bring back the whole interview with Jamie Dimon in studio and the radio. So we roll video on it. So the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, there's things we agree on. You and I have discussed this when it comes to immigration. I got the world's best immigration attorney and Mike Lawler, stuff Democrats and Republicans can agree on. I'm going to take the Miracle of Mississippi with the governor, Tate. They have reversed. They're like 7th in the country in education. They were once 49th. What are they doing? We're going to unmask and go over that. And Daniel Pletka and Mark Thiessen go over the Iran war, and then how it plays into the midterm. So that's coming up Sunday at 9. And don't forget, I'm coming back to St. Louis in the fall.
Yes, tickets are on sale, right?
Go to BrianKilmeade.com. Yeah.
Yeah. I gave
what's
away.
What's the name of that venue again? I forgot.
Is what now?
The venue. The name of the venue.
Factory. The Factory. Yeah. And Jimmy's going to be there next Saturday. So Fela's rescheduled show is next Saturday. Tickets are on sale for Brian. I gave away tickets last week. We know it's going to sell out. So we very much look forward to that, even though it's way off in the distant future in November. Brian, have a great weekend. We'll talk next week.
Go get him, Mark Reardon. Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, they've cleared the accident northbound 170 near Frost. Traffic starting to thin out through there. Westbound 6440 still lining up, approaching Kings Highway out through McCausland. We had an earlier accident eastbound, and that one was closer to Vandeventer, so still some slow-moving traffic in that area. But if you are on southbound 170, it's the usual volume headed for 64. Southbound 270, slow pocket south of Page, down through, it looks like Gravois now. Southbound 55, that's a slow go, mainly at Bates. And out west, 70 is in good shape, but 64 a little slow at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. We've got 44 westbound and slowing in front of the Arch Grounds, and eastbound 70 slows at 64. That, of course, due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, not the best time on Wall Street right now, which makes it even more important for you to set an appointment with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. Because really, if you haven't done any planning, you've saved, maybe you put some money away in a 401k, but then what's next? You have to have a plan. Thomas Helbig and the team at the Retirement Advisory Group, this is what they do. They will create a worry-free retirement. You have to make sure that you know what you're doing. You could be decades away from retirement. You could be a few years away from retirement, and you could be in retirement. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a team that's going to help you pursue the retirement of your dreams and maybe do it in a different way, because what they do philosophically is safely linked to the market. And what that does for you is it locks in your gains. We have events that occur 5 times a year. We're going to have another one to announce very, very soon. In the meantime, go straight into the office. Don't waste any time, because these are things that are very important, and they'll give you a free copy of their book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. The other thing is maybe you don't have a vibe with Thomas and the team, but there's no way to find that out unless you sit down with them or attend one of the seminars. 314-993-9494, the website, retirementkey.com, for the official financial planners of this show, Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
From Fox and Friends, The Brian Kilmeade Show, and One Nation.
This is not going to be a show that you're expecting.
An entertaining, inspiring night that brings history to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Kilmeade!
Brian Kilmeade, Uniting the States Tour.
Incredible. I learned so much.
I love Brian.
Because we do watch him all the time.
Saturday, November 21st, The Factory. Get tickets now at thefactorystl.com. Brian Kilmeade.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Norm Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's crawfordbutts.com.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I'll have news in the next hour. Obviously, tomorrow afternoon as well, in the 4 o'clock hour with Paul Hall on entertainment, and also Frank Cusimano. Sue, did you see the stuff that came out on Tiger Woods today? The videos and the body cam and everything like that? Oh, she might not be there. Sue's actually doing the show at home today, so she might not have heard me. Yeah, what happened is they revealed what the police saw when they pulled him over last week when he had this accident where he flipped over his Land Rover. Some of this audio is a little bit hard to hear, but he tells the police that he's on the phone at the time when the accident occurred.
Can you tell me what happened real quick?
Yeah, I was looking down at my phone, doing a look at changing stations, and next thing you know, boom.
Okay.
So he's kind of, for some of this, he's sitting on the ground and he's talking to police. They're being pretty polite with him. They're asking him about, because he did the breathalyzer, of course, because he knew he didn't drink. He didn't have alcohol, but this was, in theory, a pill situation.
How much have you had to drink today? Do you take any medication?
I take a few.
All right, so that's a little hard to hear. How much have you had to drink today was the question. None. Do you take any medications? And then he answers the question that yes, and you'll hear those medications redacted here.
So at this time, I do believe your normal faculties are impaired, okay? And you're under the unknown substance, okay? So at this time, you're under arrest for DUI. Yes, sir.
I thought that I had the one, this might be it, because we did have one where he was naming the medications, but they didn't. They had those kind of clipped out, so they were edited out. But here he is as the cops are kind of assessing whether or not he's hurt or not.
All of a sudden, boom. I'm gonna just take a look at it. I go in and just like take. Is this comfortable for you?
Yeah.
You're all right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Cool. 718 dispatch. Social security. Yeah. They're all right. Why don't you respond? I don't feel anything out of the asshole. We're still going to have our medic come and check you out.
Yeah, so they just said basically the medic's going to come and check you out. And then I can't believe when you see this car flipped on its side, and I'm sure many of you have, it's hard to believe that he was not injured more. The other audio that came out, sort of the same thing from, a body cam, is that of Sharon Moore, the fired head coach of the University of Michigan Wolverines. Remember what happened with him last year? He freaked out because his assistant, who he was having an affair with, basically outed him, and he was fired very, very quickly. He was charged with a number of crimes. I was trying to find out what the resolutions. I think he pleaded out on some of that. Some of these were misdemeanors. But yesterday, TMZ came out with a bunch of audio and video that we had not seen before.
Okay, top 10. We got you though. I wanted me here, man.
The cops are consoling him because he realizes he's in the back of the squad car and, his life is changing.
Do a professional.
We have some criminal charges for unlawful entry and an assault.
Assault?
I know. We went to condo after she called us.
I didn't assault anybody.
Hang on.
She's trying to end my life, man.
Hang on. I get it, man. It's stressful. I can't put myself in your face.
She's trying to end my life right now.
The cops are trying to be empathetic. He says she's trying to end my life and basically indicates that, she was trying to blackmail him. And then, he realized, I think he even tells the cops the story. He got fired.
We got a call from that you were at the house and you weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, I went there. I got fired today. And I know exactly what happened. So I got fired because of a relationship with her, unfortunately, outside of my marriage. That happened, and I was done with it. I wanted to let her go, but I couldn't because she told me she would sue me. So I did not fire her, and she was my assistant. So this goes on. This happened a while ago. It's done. There's an investigation about a whole bunch of other stuff, about other women, other people, which never happened. I get pulled in the ward's office. I get fired. I go to her place, to her house. I did not touch her. I did not put a hand on her. I did not assault her and do anything to harm her whatsoever. I got mad, and then I yelled, but I did not touch her in any way, shape, or form.
So, he doesn't come off as much of a lunatic as he did in the story when we kind of first found out about this, but he very insistently says, look, I didn't touch her. Her lawyer was on the phone when the screaming match took place. I believe that audio came out earlier this year. So it wasn't a good, look for him at all.
How did you get into the house?
The door was open, and she says, well, you're not supposed to be here. I said, what? You're not supposed to be here. I said, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Are you trying to ruin my life? And then she says, you have to leave. Get away. I'm calling the cops.
She said that while you were in the kitchen, you removed 2 butter knives.
I left the butter knives. I grabbed this and I left. And that's when I went into my car.
So you only took the butter knives out? Was there any other type of knife you pulled out?
That's it.
Did you say anything along the lines of, my blood is on your hands, or my blood is your blood? Or
No, I did not tell her that, no.
Okay. And then did you pick up any other knives that were in the kitchen?
No.
Okay.
He does say something about his scissors. Look, the bottom line after watching all that and listening to it, he was, I think, in shock because his life was completely falling apart. But there's a guy, and I hope this has changed since then, because that was when he was arrested and the period right after all this went down. But Sharon Moore doesn't take any personal responsibility for his behavior, which I think is pretty clear when you hear that police audio. Hopefully by this time he has done that, and I don't think he held his family together.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, if you are headed into Illinois, eastbound 70 is jammed at 64. That, of course, due to road work. We've got volume on northbound 170. There was an accident reported really close to Hanley, and that has created a jam behind it. Southbound 270 slowing at 70. And then some moderate volume between Page and just before Gravois. We've got westbound 40 slowing anywhere from Kings Highway in pockets out through 270 and on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now 70 westbound, a little moderate volume near the airport and at Wentzville. 55, of course, slowing at your friend Bates. And then it's a moderate volume headed down toward 141. This report is brought to you by i3 Broadband. Spring is here. Time to toss out that dusty treadmill and your laggy cable internet. Upgrade to 100% in-home fiber from i3 Broadband. Plus, they're springing forward with their longest price guarantees ever on their gig speed internet services. No data caps, just pure speed. Visit i3broadband.com/radio and start your spring off right. I'm Sue Thomas with Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Did you know replacing old vinyl windows with more vinyl windows might not be the best choice? Hi, it's Kim, and I'm here to tell you about Infinity from Marvin Windows, because these fiberglass windows, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they're custom built to fit your home perfectly. The team at Lakeside Renovation and Design just makes the process so easy. I love the fact that they even offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Look, if you're tired of drafts, high energy bills, or maybe hard to open windows, now's the time to upgrade. Visit windowsbylakeside.com to schedule your free consultation today.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz. Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone.
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
But treatment can turn your life around.
Treatment has really saved my life.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or visit ptsd.va.gov.
Jimmy Fallon in the house, and I cannot wait to see you finally, April 11th. Although we're not calling it a redo because we never did the thing in the first place. You can't have a sequel if you don't have an original. Get your tickets at 971talk.com/events.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
A second
second cabinet member is out. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Attorney General Pam Bondi says she'll move to a private sector role that she's thrilled about and where she'll continue fighting for President Trump and his administration. The president says Deputy AG Todd Blanche will serve as acting attorney general for now, calling Bondi a great American patriot and loyal friend.
A senior administration official says there is no bad blood, but President Trump thinks DOJ needs new leadership. Bondi is the second cabinet member to be removed this year following the ouster of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem last month.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Fox News Digital is told the president had been considering the Justice Department change for a while. Just getting word from the Pentagon that Secretary Pete Hegseth is asking the Army's top uniformed officer to step down, even as Operation Epic Fury continues. Iran says the U.S. and Israel will get nowhere trying to count its missiles and drones after another warning from President Trump to make a deal before it's too late.
The spokesman for Iran's Revolutionary Guard, always defiant, said the U.S. and Israel so far have only hit insignificant targets.
Our strategic military production takes place in locations you are completely unaware of and will never be able to reach.
Through all the tough talk, Israel's defense minister told the new Secretary General of Hezbollah, Naim Qassam, that he's headed to the bottom of hell for firing on Israelis during Passover.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv. The federal government will take a much deeper dive into contaminants building up in the human body from air, food, and water, including microplastics, forever chemicals, and pharmaceuticals.
This is a direct response to the concern of millions of Americans who have long demanded answers about what they and their families are drinking every day.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, alongside Health Secretary Kennedy, announcing a new program to measure exposure, identify risk sources, and reduce them. America is listening to Fox News.
Spring cleaning is upon us, but there's one meaningful box that you don't throw away when cleaning out your closet. It's the box filled with your family's important videotapes, film reels, and photos. Hi, I'm Adam Baselogger.
And I'm Nick Mako. We started Legacy Box over a decade ago to help families organize and update their analog media to digital.
Legacy Box is simple and easy. It works and is safe. Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box.
And Legacy Box has been featured in Good Housekeeping, The Today Show, and Rachel Ray.
Legacy Box is like magic, converting your shoebox of memories to the cloud or thumb drive, ready to watch and share.
Declutter your closet by digitizing your media. Become more organized and accomplished, knowing your family's recorded past is safe forever. Take advantage of our spring cleaning sale going on now. It's the easiest task to check off your to-do list.
For a limited time, you can get started for just $9 a tape. Visit legacybox.com/keepsake to get our $9 sale. That's legacybox.com/keepsake to get our $9 offer. Legacybox.com/keepsake.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Mostly cloudy skies this afternoon. There'll be a couple of showers, couple of thunder showers, but the action is limited. 79. It's windy tonight. Couple of showers and thunderstorms around. 62. Friday, partly sunny, but still some showers and thunderstorms around. 83. Saturday, keep it unsettled. Sunday, though, for Easter is dry. It's sunny at 55. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, Thursday afternoon, and it kind of feels like a Thursday afternoon, appropriately. I don't know. Tomorrow will be Friday. I'm a little thrown off, Fred, that we're going to be here in the studio tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't like that much.
I know. Oh, Sue, no fish tomorrow. No hush puppies. No fish tacos. None of that stuff. It's all over until next year.
Well, I don't care for it either.
So, did you hear? There's a couple things I wanted to talk about here before we get into Sue's news. One thing I will mention is that we are hoping, Fred and I are kind of keeping our fingers crossed because actor Andrew McCarthy is in town. He's at the Keating Center for Performing Arts tomorrow night. Now, look, I didn't know this when I had emailed him a few days ago. I read about his book. I knew about it. You know, I had contacted him in the fall, and he said, I might be coming to St. Louis. So I saw the story about his book, which is called Who Needs Friends? An Unscientific Examination of Male Friendship Across America. It's a really, really interesting concept. And I had emailed him because we had gotten to know each other years ago. He came in for an interview, and he always answers my emails right away. So what I didn't know is Fred tells me, Fred's communicating with him, and he says, hey, I may be able to pop in the studio because he's here tomorrow night. And honest to God, I had no idea. So that's cool that he is in town. We are pretty hopeful that we will get him on the air tomorrow, but it's just a little hard to pin him down, right, Fred?
Yeah, you're going to have to email him. He responds to you quicker.
He responds to me like all the time, like right away. So I'm in about an hour. I will say we're good for tomorrow, right? And he'll either come in, or hopefully we don't have to do it on the phone. I hope that he's able to come into the studio. I'd like to go to the event tomorrow too, which sounds really cool. Sue, did you hear? This is a horrible story that I don't know that's gotten a lot of attention about the Mount Everest guides that have been lacing tourist food to trigger, rescues. Oh, yeah. So police in Nepal have charged 32 people with organized crime and fraud related to the plot. What they did was, it was trekking company owners. A lot of people were involved here. Helicopter operators, hospital executives, all right? Guides with trekking agencies allegedly poisoned tourists by putting baking soda in their food to trigger severe gastrointestinal distress that mimicked altitude sickness or food poisoning. Once ill, the visitors were allegedly pressured into agreeing to costly emergency helicopter evacuations, with operators using forged medical and flight documents to bill international travel insurers for the cost, according to authorities in that country. The ill-gotten gains were then allegedly split among the guides, the helicopter companies, the trekking agencies, and the hospitals where the tourists were taken for fake treatments. So they just investigated this starting in January, and 6 executives from really 3 big mountain rescue firms were arrested. They fraudulently obtained $20 million in insurance payouts. So this was not small potatoes, right? The company.
I wonder who turned them in, right? Like, did all the victims talk to each other, or did people just start saying, "Why are all these people ill?"
Yeah,
this is so bizarre.
In the story that I have, they don't really indicate that. I'm reading from the New York Post, but what they say is that one company is accused of faking 171 of its 1,248 claimed rescues, leading to more than $10 million in illegitimate payouts. So again, a lot of them were real, right? It sounds like there's a lot that were real, but when you're faking a fair amount too, I guess you can scam people out of money. That's unbelievable. Look, it's like this hospice thing in L.A., which is finally getting some attention. It was an independent journalist that I think broke that story. CBS started doing it. They're going, Sue, I don't know if you said, they're knocking on these doors that literally have no patients. And, some of the patients that they claim to have had were in hospice for 6 months. I mean, that's a damn good hospice. They're keeping you alive. Maybe we should fund these places, because usually you go there and you die within a few days. But they're literally finding 80 companies in one building, none of which have any patients or anything like that. It's ridiculous.
Appalling.
So, think about the stuff that they don't discover, right?
See, you know what, Mark? That's exactly what I was thinking. And then, of course, it would cost who knows how much money to actually go out and officially investigate all this stuff. Oh, the amount of fraud. We don't even know the half of it.
But I mean, if those are some of the big companies out there that are doing this, what happens to the people that have trips that are booked at this point? How can you have a level of trust? That's a tough enough thing to do without getting sick in the first place, which they know, and that's why they do the scam. But good Lord.
I'm just shocked that so many people were in on it.
Yeah.
There was the helicopter companies, the tour operators. Oh my gosh.
Well, and maybe that's why they got caught, because it's pretty hard
to hide
for
that
people
amount.
to keep a secret. And I don't know what triggered the investigation.
And
but
notice they were smart enough to give them something that, isn't poison. Nobody's getting killed.
Right. And then they just gave everyone an idea of how to do that to other people in their lives, which I'm not really crazy about.
That's not
but
great.
That was a crazy story. I'd read about earlier this week, just a couple of days ago.
Wow.
So I wanted to play this. This was audio from yesterday. Fred, I don't know if you heard this. We'll see what the reaction is. This is we should play this for George Rosenthal on Tuesday for Tech Talk Tuesdays. So this is a judge in Texas, Harris County. His name is Nathan Milron. He's going viral because something happened in his courtroom. Fred, something tells me you're going to react to this maybe more than other people, but we'll just test out this theory here. So the computer is messing up, right? The IT guy comes over, and that would happen here, when we have IT people in the building. But someone would come over and try to, the first thing they always do is just kind of hit the computer on the side. That's what I've always learned.
And then
from
they
engineers.
power down, power up.
Right, which is what we're supposed to do. But anyway, he's got something going on, and the IT dude gets up there in front of the judge and talks to him, and he's being pretty cool about it, right? Well, the judge does not react very well, so here's what happened.
And you're disjoined from the audio here, right? Yeah, it should be. Let me see. Sorry.
Mariah, did I make this up?
No. 5 seconds. 1 second. You don't have to go far. You're disjoined. Okay. Yeah, you're good. Okay. False alarm.
No, it wasn't a false alarm.
False negative. Sorry.
Don't joke around. I'm serious about this. It was happening. Again.
I understand. I'm just saying I can't see it, sir.
We're good. Thank you. Get out of my courtroom.
Hashtag no sense of humor.
Jesus.
Listen.
Sick and tired of this today.
Yeah, he didn't react very well to that. But here's where I think there's a little bit of relatability. Not because of my behavior. That's certainly part of it, Fred. But Sue, you've worked in radio long enough. You know how many times I've had something happen in a studio, called an engineer, and then that thing is not replicated, and I can't show them what happened, and they think it's miraculously fixed.
Mark.
I've experienced that my whole life.
Me too.
Yes.
It's like taking the car in for a noise, and then it won't do it when they get there.
But, I can rip on the judge because he was being a jackass, but on the other hand, I have no idea what was going on with his life that day. But here's something interesting. So this is what happens. When you go viral for something like this, people start digging around, right? So now there's reporting out there on Twitter that this judge, Nathan Milron, filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy last May. According to court records, he had $70,000 in debt, owing $30,000 to American Express, Chase, Discover, so he didn't have any money left. And maybe that's why he was in a bad mood. I don't know.
It might be, but can you not take it out on the poor IT guy?
I know, and the guy was just, joking around and trying to keep it light. I think he
wanted to be respected.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Fred, is this audio in here the pilot calling the Kennedy Tower instead of, what is that from?
It was a commercial pilot flying, and he had the wrong tower.
But this is not related to anything that happened with the Air Canada situation.
No accidents at all. It's just he didn't know what airport he was calling.
Okay, let's check that out.
Brickyard 5752.
Brickyard 5752. I'm sorry, where are you?
2 mile final, Brickyard 5752.
2 mile final where?
Runway 4.
At LaGuardia?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Kennedy Tower. Please go to LaGuardia Tower.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
Okay. How does that happen?
Oh, my goodness.
Somebody's going to have to tell me, is that what he said at the beginning?
Yeah,
at the end, he said, oh, my goodness. Okay. Now, coming off of all these other near misses and stuff like that, that does not exactly instill confidence. I don't know. I'm not really good with the geography out there. Fred, you were just out there. Like D.C. And Reagan, those two are really far apart. They're not close together. I don't know how close they are in New York.
I've only flown into LaGuardia, so I'm not sure how far JFK is.
Yeah, I think
LaGuardia,
I've only been to LaGuardia too.
Close.
You wouldn't think it would be that far. But anyway, that's kind of frightening, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does that happen, though? Someone like a pilot out there, someone's going to have to tell me how that happens, because I'm not an expert, but I don't think it should happen. We're going to take a break. Sue's News is coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a report of an accident on westbound 6440 near Kings Highway, and there is a parking lot jam behind it right now that goes back through Grand. Now, we have eastbound traffic lining up headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, but we're fine on the bridge itself. An accident reported on eastbound 6440, really close to Big Bend. That is not a surprise. And westbound traffic lines up as you head for 270. It's just moderate volume there and at Clarkson and at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70 westbound out of downtown, a little slow, 170 past the airport before opening up. And there was an accident northbound 170 near Scudder that has caused a delay in that area. Southbound 55 slowing at Bates, also headed for 141. And southbound 270, slow pockets. This is mainly from Olive down through 44, and then it looks better. On the Illinois side, eastbound 70 jams at 64. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Game day comfort steps up to the plate Saturday, April 11th, when the Cardinals face the Boston Red Sox downtown. That night, fans can score a Cardinals dugout hoodie presented by Mercy, built for cool nights, late innings, and early season baseball. It's a classic, easy-to-wear layer you'll reach for all year long. Available in medium or extra large while supplies last. Don't miss this spring matchup. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Every Sunday home game is a Kids Sunday at Busch Stadium. From Team Fred Birding games to a kid-friendly DJ, ice cream, and family favorite activities. Sundays are built for young fans. Plus, select Sundays feature kids run the bases after the game. It's a day made for smiles, memories, and Cardinals baseball together. Make Sundays your family tradition at Busch Stadium. Tickets and details at cardinals.com/KidsSunday.
Hi, this is Jill Schlesinger, CBS News business analyst, certified financial planner, and the host of the Jill on Money podcast. With the new year upon us, there's no better time to take control of your financial life, and the Jill on Money podcast is here to help. It's your questions that make it possible for me to provide unconventional and, I hope, entertaining insights on your money and, more importantly, on your life. Follow and listen to Jill on Money wherever you get your podcasts.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Good friend Curtis Houck from Newsbusters, the Media Research Center, is going to join us here at 4:30. One of our favorite pundits, Charles Lipson from the University of Chicago, will be here after 5. Heather McDonald, who is a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, she writes a lot about crime and issues relating to police, but she wrote about homelessness in New York City, and unfortunately there's some things that are relatable to St. Louis that we can share with her. Plus, I have an audio cut of the day. We have a Reardon Roundtable in the 97.1 FM Talk studio tomorrow because we're not on the road. Former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch will be here on the panel, and Jeff Rainford as well. Paul Hall will have some entertainment recommendations. Sue, I'm very excited. I think the new season of Your Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm is out. James Marsden joining the cast. That was my favorite show of all last year. Neil Sosik tomorrow from the Mighty Pines, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for actor Andrew McCarthy, who has a book out called Who Needs Friends? An Unscientific Examination of Male Friendship Across America. He is at the Keating Center for the Performing Arts tomorrow night at 7 p.m., and the book sounds really, really interesting, and we're in some contact with Andrew right now. We might get him in the studio tomorrow afternoon. Let's do this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Brad, do you have the bell?
He's going to get it.
Okay,
now he
good.
has it. Now he has it.
It's National Ferret Day. That's right. Now, why there is one, I don't know. Why are half these days there? Have you ever known anybody who had a ferret? Mark Reardon,
yeah,
you do have a zoo.
Yes, my son Aiden and his girlfriend Dakota have 2 ferrets right now in Chicago.
No way. What's the appeal? Is it apartment living or what is it?
I don't know. I mean, look, they can be they have personalities. I mean, I guess it's a little different than me with the bunny, but the ferrets can run around a little bit too. You know, you can let them out of the cage. I think I've never really been around them that much to know, or never even picked them up. But yeah,
are ferrets like big gerbils or something?
Well, they're pretty. I think they're more than that.
Bigger than that.
Well, because.
Well, the tail
gerbils don't really have personalities. I had gerbils. That was the only thing I was allowed to have when I was a kid. But
they're more like mice than anything.
Yeah, like
so a ferret is furry or kind of like a skunkish,
right?
Oh, okay.
Or a mink or something like
somewhere
that.
between a mink and a squirrel, wouldn't you say?
But they, I don't think they smell too great all the time.
I was going to say, what's the thing? Is it that they? I think it's that they smell weird.
Yeah, I think so. But they have like a pretty. It's like a 3-story cage, so they can run around and do stuff like that. And I think they let them out occasionally. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. To each his own. I prefer National Burrito Day.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
And, Fred, that didn't work very well. Do that again. There we go.
I'm in training.
I know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's an apprentice when it comes to the bell.
Oh, you're doing great. And it's also National DIY Day. Wait, National Burrito Day. There is a place in Cherokee, on the Cherokee area of the city, that has a shrimp burrito that will blow your mind. It's, what is it? La Villa Sana, I believe. Oh my gosh, a shrimp burrito. Ooh, it's delicious.
What you just reminded me is I have not been down to Cherokee to enjoy some of that food, because that's the place to be for sure.
Oh, it so is. Fred can eat one now because he's a shrimp
now that
man.
I'm doing shrimp.
Look at you, Fred. Look at all the growth that we've had here.
I mean, and it's also National DIY Day.
Wait, hang on a second. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I don't know how to do anything myself.
You know what? My sister-in-law says this about my brother, who has, he's got nothing. He doesn't want to do it. Or she said, I just call the handyman. It's easier.
We had a handyman come last week to our house to install a new ceiling fan in our family room.
Yeah.
And just for laughs, he had me hold the old fan, because I was there trying to help him,
right,
like a 5-year-old would do, And like Marie took a picture of me holding the fan, and my son's had it into a meme in no time, and it went out there because I look so silly.
Please share that, Fred. What are you doing? You can't just tell us about something like that and not share the meme. Yeah, I always like to share the story that when I was in the city, Sue, when I lived on Dover Place and I had the home there. This goes back a while. I don't even know what the needs were, but I had this upstairs in that house that I was kind of renovating so my kids could be up there, and it was going to be their bedroom, right?
Yeah.
And the contractor comes in, and I think whatever I was asking him to do was relatively easy. And I always confess to people like that when I meet them that I don't have any skills. And he goes, "Yep, you're the kind of guy that keeps me in business. I appreciate it." I'm like, "Happy to do so, sir. I'm right there for you."
It's also National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. Okay, here was the figure for this. They say that the average American will have eaten over 2,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches by the time they graduate from high school. That cannot be. I've eaten a lot of peanut butter and jelly, but there's no way I had 2,000 before I graduated from high school.
Okay, two things on that. I agree with you. That seems a little high, even in our era when we were pretty much eating bread sandwiches with mayonnaise on them too, or cheese or something like that. I've had 2 this week. Technically 1 because I only do like a half a sandwich. I use 1 piece of bread, do a half a sandwich just because of my delicate figure, Sue, as you know.
Well, I
you
understand.
make your own.
But
you don't buy the.
No, I make my own. I really like my my jam that I use, which is fancy. But I want to bring it up because I worked with someone in Milwaukee. My friend John Jagler, who's been on the air, he literally brought peanut butter and jelly for his lunch every single day of his work life. Yeah, I thought that was crazy. Like a little variety, but nope, every day.
Every
Wow, day.
I don't even know what to do with that.
I know.
I mean, I am an outlier, I suppose, on the fact that I prefer, if I'm going to have that, peanut butter and honey. Anyone?
I would be willing to try that. I've not done that.
Tried that.
Yeah, it's quite tasty. I don't know whether it was my mom who,
I wish I could tell you the joke about what the difference between jam and jelly is, because it's literally one of my favorite jokes ever, but I can't do it because I'd be fired and Sue would never talk to me again. But for those of you who know that joke, I will tell you that if anyone knows that joke, I was in Door County, Wisconsin, and we were in one of these little, cool stores because they don't have anything up there that's like franchises or restaurants. It's little shops and stuff. stuff. And we were looking at jelly and jam, and my friend Fitz says, "Do you know the difference between jam and jelly?" And he totally set me up. And when he told me, I don't think I stopped laughing for like 20 minutes.
Well,
it's a very dirty
know.
joke. That's all I can tell
right.
you.
Well,
it's not for
pass
Sue.
along.
I'm not going to, or Fred. But if a listener wants to know,
Thanks for sharing it.
email me.
Well, now, I was going to say, Fred, this picture is awesome. He just sent us the one with him holding the fan.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I don't
Okay,
suppose you'll let me tweet that or put it on X.
John Sullivan from Pet Supplies Plus just says he's never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
How is this possible?
That's ridiculous.
This is America.
By the way, he says here, he's our New York expert
Brooklyn,
too.
yeah.
He says that JFK is about 12 miles from LaGuardia, 2 minutes in the air, 10 minutes to an hour by car. 10 minutes to an hour. I love that.
Wow, that's
but how could you have
funny.
never, were you brought up in a Russian,
Thank you.
prison
Gulag?
camp or something? Yeah, exactly.
Yes. What is happening?
Oh, this picture of Fred is perfect. Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
Are we allowed to put it on X,
I know, but I
Fred?
love it. I do love it.
Okay. We'll put it up. Mark, will you put that up?
I can
don't-
try.
It's a
Yeah.
cutout.
Yeah.
But, yeah. On this day in history, 52 years ago, it was in 1974 when one of my favorite movies beat out The Exorcist, which I've never seen, Serpico, and American Graffiti for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. It also got, we'll start there. What movie is it? The Sting.
Oh, The Sting.
And if you have not watched that in years, go back and watch it. It's fantastic. One of the best soundtracks ever. My grandma had gone to see that and bought the 8-track soundtrack of it and played it over and over again. So when I was a little kid, I had that in my head.
Like
I wasn't
the-
allowed
well,
to see the movie till
entertainer.
later.
That is a great recommendation. I went on that little that deal like 3 years ago where I was really doing a lot of 70s movies and early 80s movies, and that would be one that I didn't watch. I'd like to see that again because it's been a long time. I probably saw it in the
you will
80s the
love
last
it.
time. Yeah.
Robert Redford and Paul Newman, you can't beat that.
No, you can't beat that. So I'm going to put that on my
so
list.
Good. That, by the way, was the year that Tatum O'Neal, who was only 10 years old, won for Paper Moon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Groucho Marx won an honorary Oscar for all of his Marx Brothers comedies.
I really liked Groucho Marx. I thought he was funny.
I don't think I've ever seen a movie with him in it. I should
I
probably
think there was
do
an old
that.
show called You Bet Your Life, and he was the host of it.
Really?
It was funny.
Also, on this day in history, 48 years ago, it was in 1978 when Dallas premiered. And that show ran for 14 seasons. The whole Who Shot JR, the whole 9 yards. Okay. There is a startup out there called Reflect Orbital, and they are saying they want to deliver on-demand sunlight when it's dark out. It sounds like science fiction, but it's supposed to be real. Basically, they want to send up thousands of satellites with giant mirrors, and those mirrors would reflect sunlight down to Earth at night. So what you have to do is sign up an app, drop a pin, and sunlight will arrive at your location in 30 seconds. What? Okay, but the company is aiming even higher. The CEO said, "Oh yes, and of course we'll replace fossil fuels and really power everything with sun." Whether or not that will work. But some researchers, of course, are saying the math does not add up here. It could take thousands of satellites just to match a fraction of daylight. And plus it would mess up with the birds. It could confuse animals. It could disrupt people's sleep. I mean, what if your neighbor ordered sunlight light at 2 a.m.?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that sounds good.
But we'll see if it happens. It's just the first time I've heard of something like this. And the fact that it's even a thing kind of freaks me out. Tomorrow, I'm going to have something from Mark about what you can do if you're a pessimist.
No.
I bring that up now.
Why me? Why me,
I'm
Sue?
just saying.
I'm always
you
glass
are
half full.
self-proclaimed.
I am. You're right.
That's true. And finally, in Sue's news, we have today's random fact. There is a rare old term for pretending to work while actually doing nothing. It's fudgel, F-U-D-G-E-L, as in he spent the afternoon fudgeling at his desk instead of finishing the report.
I thought it was talk show host. That might be that. Thank you, Sue. That wraps up a Thursday edition of Sue's News. Curtis Houck from Newsbusters coming up.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Mortgage rates ticked higher for the fifth time in the last 6 weeks. Data from Freddie Mac showed the 30-year fix rose 8 basis points to 6.46%. The 15-year low nudged higher to 5.77%. It comes on a week where mortgage applications fell by 10%. The real test will come later this month when new home listings are announced. Those jumped 20% from February to March. Big box store Sam's Club is raising its annual membership fee by $10 next month. The new price will be $60 per year for the basic membership and $120 for the heightened program. Wall Street stocks saw surging oil prices hold back the markets today. Dow Industrial Average was down 61 points at 46,504. NASDAQ added 38 points. The S&P 500 picked up 7. Crude oil up 11% at $111.54 a barrel. And that's your money now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No?
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL. Or visit civialaw.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
From High Ridge to Pontoon Beach, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, Reardon Roundtable tomorrow, 3 o'clock hour. Former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch, Jeff Rainford will also be here. I'm guessing we're going to talk about the viral audio and video moment from the New York Mets broadcast team where they kind of ripped on the city of St. Louis. And the reason they ripped on the city of St. Louis is because they accurately saw nobody downtown like I do on any day of the week currently right now. But we'll get into that, and that's been somewhat controversial. Some people, Ethan sent this to me. Let me see here real quick because I think he said Channel 4 had an interesting, let's see. Oh, this is Fox. So the tweet from Fox 2 is, Mets broadcasters make bizarre comments on downtown St. Louis. That's clickbait right there because the appropriate headline would be Mets broadcasters make clear observation that's 100% factual and accurate about downtown St. Louis. And if you haven't heard it yet, I'll play it just a little later. I'm guessing it might fit for audio cut of the day as well. Hey, Curtis Houck back with us, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. Good afternoon, Curtis. How are you?
Good to be with you, my friend Mark. How are you?
I'm good. I want to talk first and foremost about some of the coverage the last 2 days. Look, I'm old enough, sadly, to have remembered our last trip to the moon in 1972, but it was so exciting yesterday, and it was such a big deal, and it continues to be. I can't wait to see what happens with this mission. But you pointed out, of course, if you tuned into Good Morning America and George Stephanopoulos yesterday, you'd have to dig pretty deep into the show to find anything out about the most historic space mission in the last, nearly 60 years.
This was astounding, Mark. So CBS Mornings and the Today Show started with the moon, and then they went to Iran, previewing the launch. But Good Morning America decided to not have not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but 7 anti-Trump stories before they actually had coverage of the moon. Of the moon launch. I mean, this was remarkable. I mean, the breakdown here, Trump talking to the Telegraph and Jonathan Karl threatening to pull out of NATO for the millionth time. The latest on the war in Iran, Trump on mail-in ballots, Trump on the ballroom, Hegseth intervening in the Kid Rock helicopter case, Hegseth
they were still covering that yesterday.
And then Hegseth, and then Trump, the Trump administration being the real anti-Semites at UPenn by requesting contact information for Jewish students so they could be interviewed about whether they were experiencing anti-Semitism, and the schools pushed back, and others have arguing that this is the real echo of the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. So you covered all of those things, Mark, on Good Morning America with George Stephanopoulos before they got to the moon.
That's ridiculous,
Astounding.
but maybe not completely unexpected. How have you thought, now I want to ask you about CBS and what they're doing with Tony DeCopel, because as you mentioned in a piece that you wrote, there's this esteemed publication. As someone who graduated from journalism school at the University of Missouri, I'm very familiar with the Columbia Journalism Review. They're all very, hoity-toity and journalists with a capital J over there. But they've kind of written about Tony DeCopel. They don't like Barry Weiss. No one in what they consider real journalism likes Barry Weiss because she's actually trying to do real journalism. They just don't get that.
Right. Yeah, of course. So the piece of Columbia Journalism Review, it's almost 4,000 words. Amos Barshad wrote this piece interviewing former colleagues of Tony DeCopel, and not surprisingly, a few of them had anonymously negative things to say, basically how they're very disappointed in him. They just don't see how this could have happened, that he would become such a mouthpiece for the state. Oh, that's the most charitable explanation I can think of. That was what one of them said. And that I'm surprised he's pretending to be, if not MAGA-aligned, then somewhat sympathetic with that worldview. In other words, Tony DeCopel, again, we're just talking about rhetoric here. The results, as we've discussed here many times, is still kind of very slowly churning here. And DeCopel himself has been fine. It's the correspondents that I think are still biased. But the mere statement that we are going to acknowledge that we work on behalf of all Americans and want news for all Americans is beyond reproach for these people. And it just shows how much they detest half the country. It's very interesting that they would be so open about it.
Yeah, look, it's ridiculous. And look, I don't find there's no overly MAGA stuff that they're doing. They're just trying to do things. Yeah. And this is the type of stuff that you and I and a lot of people have been talking about literally maybe for decades. I've said this about, news organizations. Why wouldn't you have, I still think this is a good idea. And I think even I've heard Tony DeCopel or, some of them mention it where they're going out to visit different parts of the country. But there's no reason, except for resources now, so it's different. But there used to be resources in media. You used to have these bureaus, right? You have the Washington, D.C. Bureau. You'd have the Moscow Bureau. Well, they never came to the middle of the country to talk to real people here in Oklahoma, in Arkansas, in Iowa, in Missouri. People trying to work hard for a living, etc.
Iowa. They have one person in Iowa, Lana Zach, who was in New York, pretty liberal for a long time, and they just kind of parachuted her into Iowa. But nothing that she's reported on since then would indicate she's really changed her worldview.
Well, it would just be nice, and this is what I think they're trying to do, although I'm disappointed with some of the stuff that they're doing at CBS, is not to go through a worldview that Trump supporters have, but just to, give some fairness and to cover things that deserve to be covered, including the entire story, the breadth of the story, because, and I know you talk about this too, I talk about the journalism by omission, the things that they leave out all the time, and that's something that people don't even recognize.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is too that in the CGR piece and others that I've noticed with Tony DeCopel, in his interviews with the president, he's interviewed Secretary Hegseth. He went over to Israel, interviewed a few folks there, including the Israeli president Herzog. That he lets them talk. And that's the issue that Jim Acosta and Oliver Darcy and others have had with CBS. That they're letting their interview subjects speak, and they're not being harangued constantly. They're being condescended to CNN style.
Yeah,
that's what they find unforgivable.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that for sure. What about the the overall coverage here of the Iran war and how that's going? Look, I'm in the camp that does think that some tough questions need to be, asked of the administration on this. And I don't really have a sense for how the legacy media is really covering this, especially the broadcast media.
Yeah, and I think the last time I was on here and the time before, I think my sense of it has stayed the same, which is there are some networks that are doing it disingenuously. ABC News is one of them. Like literally every sentence in the story that I have at the top of the page of Newsbusters right now, Mary Bruce had to kind of punctuate or lead with some sort of negative statement about the president and the way things could go wrong with the war. Whereas I think some of the other ones, CBS, Wei Zhejiang, Gabe Gutierrez at NBC, Garrett Hake at NBC as well, the way they've kind of done it has kind of said, here's what the president says, and this may pan out, but this may also not pan out. And so we're going to ask the questions in such a way. And I think that's just so much more constructive because if, you just think, again, this kind of gets into like psychology. Like if you automatically think something's going to go poorly, it will go poorly. I mean, that's kind of just the general view of things, and you're kind of poisoning the well before you can even kind of look and see what's going on. And I think that's what ABC is trying to do here, whereas I think some of the others are trying to ask questions constructively about what's going on. The New York Times, I think, definitely is more in the ABC camp as well. I think you can, as you point out, Mark, ask a lot of serious questions, but not do so in a manner that is, kind of tipping your hand, that you're almost sounding like you're rooting for the Iranian regime or you're siding with Europe or whatnot.
Curtis Houck from Newsbusters here. Did you by any chance see, I really haven't talked about this week, and I've meant to. Did you see 60 Minutes over the weekend by any chance?
I did. No, I saw the top story with Sharon Alfonsi about the NTSB and the DC collision.
And that was so they did a story and they actually talked to the widows of the. There were a bunch of guys that went on a hunting or a fishing trip that died. All these best friends and their wives were all widowed. Sat down with them, actually asked some really good questions about the air traffic control system. They did a story about the Ukrainians rapidly advancing drone technology in the war with Russia. I thought that was pretty good. Although it did make it, the bias there was, it made it seem like the U.S. was way, way, way behind in drone technology, and I don't believe that. And then you had a story that was really fascinating. This travel through Vietnam's Song Dune. It's the world's largest cave passage. And it was fascinating. Now, I bring this up because all three of those stories, and again, I think there was a little bit too much bias in the Ukrainian story because they didn't give any, well, I don't want to say any credit, but I think they could have gone into more detail about how we use drones in warfare because, we're doing it anyway. But it was an episode of 60 Minutes that I actually sat back and thought, wow, that was almost like it used to be, where there's just good, interesting stories, not a lot of politics, not even in that one about the air traffic controllers. That was somewhat refreshing. I don't know if Barry Weiss had anything to do with that, but it was a good episode of 60 Minutes.
Well, she did. Story came out that she is still the kind of final be-all, end-all before a story goes to air. It's not Tanya Simon, the lead producer there, Bob Simon's daughter, the late correspondent. So, I would think that she kind of had maybe not shaping it, but she definitely, if she saw a story like that, is the kind of thing that she would say, yes, this is what she needs to do. The reports are from Oliver Darcy and others that she is going to put more of her imprint on that over the summer and kind of leave the morning show to Tom Sobrowski, the CBS News president, because he had been at Good Morning America. That's kind of where he cut his teeth in the media business. So Barry will focus on 60 Minutes. I'm excited about it. Gabe Kaminsky made the full-time move from the Free Press over to CBSNews.com. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good dude. Looking at money and influence in politics. He's the kind of guy I want filing, FOIA requests and getting interviews, that kind of thing. I'm really excited to see what he'll do.
I know his name, and I did not know he made that jump, so that's good to hear. Just one quick back thing on 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley's maybe my least favorite when I have to see his stories, but he's the one that did the story on this amazing cave in Vietnam, and it is a stunningly gorgeous visual story. You will not believe these caves that they climbed into and what they saw and how they trekked around in it. It was really, really fascinating. So, gosh, you kind of, you long for the day of stories like that just kind of blew you away, and the type of story that I would want to talk about.
Mark,
yes,
right?
I had no idea that some of the most majestic, interesting, largest caves ever are in this beautiful area of Vietnam. So, yes, I did learn a lot. Curtis, awesome to have you on. You have a great week.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Talk again soon. Everybody have a good Easter weekend.
Yes, thank you. Happy Easter.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, there is an accident westbound 6440 near Kings Highway, and they've got only the right lane getting by. So traffic is just jammed behind this, and it goes back past Grant. So if you are leaving downtown, that's what's going on. Now, once you get past there, things open up, and really it's only moderate volume, but not until you get all the way out through 270, and then Lake St. Louis Boulevard is a slow go. Eastbound traffic slowing at Big Bend. We had a report of an accident there. Southbound 270, slow pockets from Olive down to just past 44, but northbound is jammed. There was a report of an accident in that area really close to 40, so expect a slow go from Ladue Road back through Manchester. 70 westbound slowing at Jennings Station Road and past the airport and at K. 55 is really slow south of Arsenal as you head down toward Bates, and it's slowing at 141 as well. South of there, it's not bad. And if you're headed into Illinois, we're quiet on the Poplar Street Bridge, but there's an accident reported southbound Route 3 in the Columbia area, kind of before you get to Gall Road, if that helps, and a jam there. This report is brought to you by i3 Broadband. It's so great. And listen, it's springtime, and it's time to toss out the dusty treadmill and your lagging cable internet. Upgrade to 100% in-home fiber from i3 Broadband. Plus, they're springing forward with their longest price guarantees ever on their gig speed internet services. No data caps, just pure speed. Visit i3broadband.com/radio and start your spring off right. I'm Sue Thomas, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Kim Commando, inviting you to listen to my show. Come be a part of the show. Every weekend, I take your calls as we talk about smartphones, artificial intelligence, security, and trends that change every single day. It's the Kim Commando Show, every Sunday from 3 to 4.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today, and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
All right, we're moving breezily. Is that a word I can use? Breezily through an afternoon show here on what is turning into a sunny afternoon. When I came in earlier, it was a little gloomy. It's nice out there right now. Seems very nice. We have temperatures in the 80s expected tomorrow, and then I think we come back to earth just a little bit. Oh, okay. Yesterday was, and I know you highlighted this, Sue, in Sue's news a little bit, but it was April 1st, which made it April Fool's Day, right? And, you know, people are being goofy and wacky and nutty and stuff like that. I don't think we tried or attempted to try an April Fool's trick, but did you hear what the Washington Wizards did last night? You haven't heard about this?
No.
Okay. So when I first heard about it, I had some feelings, and my feelings may have evolved here. But let me tell you what happened. So they're doing like a halftime show where, you know how they do the goofy things. If you can shoot from half court, you can win a bunch of money or something like that. Yeah. So they bring a fan out for a blindfolded half court shot with the promise of $10,000 if he made it. So let me play a little audio here. Okay, this is what happened.
This is the one, though. Jackson, it's all on you. This might be history if you get this done. For $10,000. Oh, my. Somebody's rich!
So they're acting like he hit the shot. He was blindfolded. He takes the blindfold off. Everyone's celebrating. He hit the shot. He wins $10,000.
Crowd is going crazy. Jackson! Oh, my gosh! You didn't see it. We all saw it. You want to see it? All right, take a look at the screen for the replay. That's crazy.
And he sees he didn't make it.
Right here. And you see how it just doesn't actually go in.
That's terrible.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, sir. I really hate April Fool's Day.
Me too.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so they punked him. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. What they did today is they said, here's what the Washington Wizards say. And by the way, I think you know this, Ethan. They're a terrible team, right? There was like nobody in the stands when all this happened.
Very good as far as I know.
So here's what they said. We apologize for last night's April Fool's joke that left many wondering if we had misled a fan. The skit involved our mascot and other members of our performance team. It was scripted and intended to celebrate the day. All participants were in on the joke, but we missed the mark. Our fans are our priority. We continue to be committed to providing a positive experience to all who attend the games. So that to me sounds like even the guy who made the shot was in on the prank, right? And I think he was. If you see the video, it looks super overacted and theatrical.
Oh, okay.
So I think that he was in on it, you know, because that's a different narrative. If you had some guy out there and, you know, you decide, hey, we're just going to punk you and we're not really giving you $10,000. But I heard another version of this. Ethan, were you the one that told me that they gave him some courtside tickets or something like that? So I don't know exactly if we know the truth here, but we do know that it kind of backfired on the Wizards last night.
Even if they didn't, or if he did know, if he wasn't in on it, I still don't have any issues with it. The way in which they went about it, I think there's a way in which it could have looked way worse, but
you don't have any problem with it, even if it was a real fan?
Are you kidding me?
I
think that looks bad.
Oh, I think it's a real bad look.
I have absolutely zero problem with this. The way they never said that he made the shot. Hold on. They acted as if he made the shot.
Mm-hmm.
It was maybe 20 seconds before they said, "Hold on, look at the video," where he very clearly missed it. The check on it didn't even have an address to anyone. It had
that's why
question marks.
I think he was in on it,
and
too.
then right after they said, listen, you were a great sport. It's April Fool's Day. We're going to give you an autographed jersey and some courtside tickets next year.
Oh, okay. So they did say that. I didn't have that part of the audio.
So I don't think that this is that big of a deal. I think people are blowing it way out of proportion, personally.
I just think it's dumb, and it made them not look great. So even if at the end, okay, fine. But maybe
I'm with
it's
Sue
my
I'm with
hatred.
Sue on this one.
I don't think it's a good PR move, and I don't love April Fool's Day anyway.
Yeah, I know.
That may be clouding my judgment.
I'm not saying it's maybe not dumb. I'm just saying I think people are freaking out about it way more than they probably should be.
Well,
is
that's
what I'm
fair.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I do
that's
think
fair.
I think the narrative is very different. If the kid was in on it, part of the script and everything, then that's one thing. But if he wasn't, I do think that changes, the circumstances a little bit. All right, we're going to come back here. Charles Lipson after the top of the hour, the very latest on Iran and domestic politics as well. We'll have Heather McDonald at the bottom of the hour for audio cut of the day, this viral cut. We'll talk about it on the roundtable tomorrow that's going around. The New York Mets broadcast team kind of ripping on the city of St. Louis for having no one walking around yesterday during the game, mainly because no one was walking around downtown during the game. We are hoping tomorrow, and let me promote the event regardless, because I think we're going to get Andrew McCarthy, New York Times bestselling author, actor, producer, director. He has written a book called Who Needs Friends? And it's a very, I read about this and I knew about it in the fall. And I had reached out to Andrew, and I was hoping that he was going to come to St. Louis, and he said he thought he was. So he's at the Keating Center for the Performing Arts in Kirkwood tomorrow night. Doors open at 6 p.m. There are tickets available. But basically, he kind of realized that he had friends. He had friends, but there was a question from his son that kind of left him reeling because, a lot of the friendships that you have in adult life tend to fall in the background. So he basically writes this book about male friendship, what had happened to some of those friendships, whether he needed them, what he valued, what he had to offer. And he said that little question from his son had kind of become a moment that demanded a reckoning. So he took and I'm actually curious to see if when he comes to St. Louis tomorrow, if he's driving, because he drove over 10,000 miles behind a car and just went through everywhere in the country, the Rocky Mountains, the desert, the Mississippi Delta. I don't know if he came through here in St. Louis, but we'll find out. But the book is called Who Needs Friends? And again, he's tomorrow night in Kirkwood at 7 p.m. The doors open at 6 p.m. at the Keating Center for Performing Arts. I told Andrew, Sue, that if he comes in studio, the big benefit is the cherished Mark Reardon Show T-shirt. If he does it on the phone, he's not going to get that. So that's going to be the big, I think he really does care about it. We'll make him wear it tomorrow night in Kirkwood. It's on that. All right.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a major accident on westbound 6440 at Kings Highway, and only the right lane is getting by. We really have a jam behind this. If this is your usual way home, you may want to consider taking 44. 44 right now looks great. This one has left us with a parking lot jam back to Compton. In fact, it's past Compton, because only one lane getting by. Now, if you're southbound on 55, it's already slow. Arsenal down through Bates. It's slowing again, headed down toward 141. And 70 westbound, some moderate volume at Jennings Station Road, past the airport, that sort of thing. 270 northbound, there was an earlier accident near 64. They say they've put it off to the shoulder, but we still have a jam near Manchester. And southbound has slow pockets approaching Olive down through Doherty Ferry. If you're headed into Illinois, there's a little bit of volume headed for the Poplar Street Bridge on 40, but it's not bad on the bridge itself. Eastbound 70 is slow right at the 64 split. That, of course, due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
My best friend, Andrew McCarthy, just confirmed he's coming in studio tomorrow.
Woo!
5 o'clock tomorrow night. Andrew McCarthy. It's going to be fun.
Call Point Pest Control, mention Annie, and get 10% off your pest problem. Once summertime hits, ant populations begin to reach peak numbers, maybe even into the millions. Call Point Pest Control before they invade your home. Call Point Pest Control 636-798-0023. Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
I'm getting older. Do I need to worry about falling?
Yes, you do. Every year, 1 in 4 people 65 and older will experience a fall, and many result in serious injury. The majority of falls happen at home, so take a look around. Replace bulbs and add lighting to help you see obstacles. Remove things that can make you trip. Fix uneven steps and floors, and install handrails in bathrooms and on stairs. Consider balance or strength training exercises, which can help with agility. Get your eyes and hearing checked regularly. Changes in your hearing can affect your balance. To learn more, please talk to your doctor about steps you can take to help prevent a fall. You can also visit aarpfoundation.org or MedicareMadeClear.com/falls. This message was brought to you by United Healthcare and AARP Foundation.
All right, he gave an address to the nation last night. What did that accomplish? Charles Lipson, Professor Emeritus at the University of Chicago, on deck right after the top of the hour news.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
I'm Tom Regani, Fox News. Attorney General Pam Bondi is now the outgoing AG. As President Trump confirms, the job will go to someone else. Fox's Peter Doocy reports from the White House.
Pam Bondi is actually still on the job as Attorney General. She's down in Florida, I believe, shooting a promo in support of one of the DOJ initiatives. But as some of these reports were crossing, I called the president and said, what is going on with Pam Bondi? And he explained that he is a fan of hers and that he thinks that she is a good person. He still wants her in the fold. He says now in a job close to the administration in the private sector, but he feels like it is time for a change at the top of the Justice Department.
Lawmakers are on vacation, but some are finding the time to react on social media to the firing of Bondi. Fox's Bill Malugin has reaction from Capitol Hill.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer posting, quote, good riddance. Pam Bondi was the wrong choice from the start, but the rot at the Department of Justice begins and ends with Donald Trump. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries posting, quote, Pam Bondi's tenure as the most corrupt Attorney General in modern American history has been a disgraceful affront to our Constitution. This long overdue firing is not enough to restore the credibility of the Justice Department or fix this rotten, out of control administration. And it appears House Democrats still plan to go after Pam Bondi about the Epstein files despite her firing. Congressman Robert Garcia, the highest ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, posted, quote, Pam Bondi and Donald Trump may think her firing gets her out of testifying to the Oversight Committee. They are wrong, and we look forward to hearing from her under oath.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche will step in to serve as acting AG with current EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin being floated as a possible replacement. On Wall Street, stocks ending the day mixed. The Dow lost 61 points, but the Nasdaq eked out a gain of 38, while the S&P 500 was up 7. America's listening to Fox News.
Spring cleaning is upon us, but there's one meaningful box that you don't throw away when cleaning out your closet. It's the box filled with your family's important videotapes, film reels, and photos. Hi, I'm Adam Baselogger.
And I'm Nick Mako. We started Legacy Box over a decade ago to help families organize and update their analog media to digital.
Legacy Box is simple and easy. It works and is safe. Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box.
And Legacy Box has been featured in Good Housekeeping, The Today Show, and Rachel Ray.
Legacy Box is like magic, converting your shoebox of memories to the cloud or thumb drive, ready to watch and share.
Declutter your closet by digitizing your media. Become more organized and accomplished, knowing your family's recorded past is safe forever. Take advantage of our spring cleaning sale going on now. It's the easiest task to check off your to-do list.
For a limited time, you can get started for just $9 a tape. Visit legacybox.com/keepsake to get our $9 sale. That's legacybox.com/keepsake to get our $9 offer. legacybox.com/keepsake.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The springtime unsettled weather pattern continues right through Saturday. It's windy from start to finish tonight. There'll be some showers and thunderstorms around 62 for the low. On Friday, partly sunny, windy, couple of showers and thunderstorms from time to time. Not raining all the time, but it's warm. It's humid, 83. Some showers and thunderstorms around Friday night, still windy, 55. Saturday, cloudy, windy. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 3. Yeah, getting a little confirmation on what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward to seeing my friend Neil Sosik from the Mighty Pines. They're a great St. Louis band. Neil made a great run on The Voice a few years ago. He finished in the top 70. He's extremely talented. The first song from the new album is called The Longest Night. I love it. It's been on repeat for a while. The record is produced by Steve Berlin of the great band Los Lobos. And then we just got confirmation. Fred and I have been working on this, that actor Andrew McCarthy is going to come in studio tomorrow. He's going to be in Kirkwood for an event at the Keating Center, sponsored by Novel Neighbor Bookstore at 7 p.m. He wanted me to mention Novel Neighbor because they're helping this come together. He's going to be there tomorrow at 7. So tomorrow at 5, he'll be on the show. And the book is really interesting. It's about male friendships. It's unique. It was based on a question that his son tossed out to him. I've known about this book for about 5 months, and I'm really, really looking forward to talking with him tomorrow. I had him in the studio many years ago at KMOX when he wrote a different book, and I was able to help him get to a Cardinals game, and we realized that we have baseball in common. He's a huge Yankees fan. I'm a huge Cardinals fan, so we may talk a little baseball tomorrow night as well. The president last night said this to the American people.
If during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously.
Yeah, making these promises.
Pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
All right, there we go. Charles Lipson, Professor Emeritus at the University of Chicago, with us this afternoon. He writes at charleslipson.com. Hello, Charles. How are you? How did you think that went well last night, or how did you think it went?
I thought it was very interesting, but I didn't think there was much news.
Yeah, probably not.
I thought that I think we are on track, but the last part is very hard. And let me say what everybody knows that part of it is getting the Straits of Hormuz open. By the way, the funniest thing I heard was an interview that some enterprising journalist did.
I played it.
College.
I played it.
Did you see
the Gaze of Hormuz?
Oh yeah, it was just.
I do this audio cut of the day, Charles, every day, and it was my audio cut of the day. It was too good. It was really good.
It was just brilliant. You and I have the same sense of humor, my friend.
Yes.
So the problem with it is that there was a song in the 1960s that said 99 and a half just won't do. You got to have 100. And that's exactly the problem. 1 or 2 missiles can strike an oil carrier, and then the rest of them are scared to go through. Escorting them, we could do that, but the problem is that these missiles get there so quickly, it's really hard to knock them down. So that's one problem. Another problem is that we still haven't found the 60% enriched uranium. 60% is only 2 weeks away from enriching to full weapons grade, and in any event could be a dirty bomb as soon as you put it on the tip of a missile. So we've got some work to do. I think that the other issue, which is Karg Island or holding up the straits and so forth. The key issue there is that a lot of the people in the Revolutionary Guard and so forth want a paycheck. And if you cut off the money, it's not only that the regime can't fund Hezbollah and Hamas and all the rest. They can't pay the people who are killing the demonstrators in the streets.
Well, let me go back to the enriched uranium, because I've heard a variety of things here. First of all, I don't think it's an unfair question to ask. Look, when we went in last summer, we allegedly obliterated the Iran nuclear program. We now know that we haven't done that. The president loves to use annihilated and obliterated, and he keeps using them. At a certain point, I think that strains credibility. But I even heard something yesterday, Charles, where they had some opportunity to at least go in and find these things, because they could be hidden in some mountain somewhere. That's the theory, right? It's very hard to locate this. You're going to have some insider information. But if you can't get that, then that's not any level of success at all, because that's the whole point of this.
Well, yes, you're right. It's one of the big points. I would say that when he said he obliterated their program, he meant, I think, that that they couldn't produce more of it. As opposed to getting rid of the stockpile that they had. The Israelis seem to have incredibly good intelligence on this stuff, so they may know where it is. That's been one of the really striking elements of Operation Epic Fury. The coordination at the level of individual flights and what the two nations are doing, what their militaries are doing, and no planes colliding with each other and so forth. It's just been extraordinary. So I think that at the level of on-the-ground help, there's been a lot of cooperation between the two. On the other hand, the Europeans have just been awful.
Yeah, why is that? And I think there's been a little bit of movement that wasn't there a few weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why are they so, because this is where Americans are confused. Look, once again, we're trying to save the planet from, nefarious players who want nukes, and the Europeans who are within missile range now apparently don't seem to think that that's an issue.
So I think there are two or three explanations, and they may all play some part in different parts in different countries. One is that there's a large Muslim voting population. In England, for example, those are the only people left who are voting for Starmer. It's a big part of Macron's coalition in France. So that's an important issue. Second issue is if Uncle Sam is footing all the bill and is going to do it anyway, why not let him do it? And so what Trump is saying is we're not going to let you free ride anymore. But this has been a problem in NATO for 5 decades, 6 decades or more. And that brings me to the third point. They have underinvested in defense for years and years and years. And so the guns and butter trade-off, they've been investing only in butter, not in guns, and giving the butter to the constituencies that vote for them.
I just, and I've expressed this to you before. I've expressed this here in the last couple of weeks. The timetable is already being stretched, right? We're 4 to 6 weeks. Right. Now we're still maybe a few more weeks away. Gas prices, let me play this because he said this last night because, look, we're more than $1 up here in Missouri. And, Charles, as you probably know, our gas prices in Missouri are mostly lower than most of the country anyway. We don't have a high gas tax, right?
Many Americans have been concerned to see the recent rise in gasoline prices here at home. This short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers in neighboring countries that have nothing to do with the conflict. This is yet more proof that Iran can never be trusted with nuclear weapons.
So obviously we know what the goals are, but again, I'm just calling it like I see it here. And if I'm an American voter and I'm not necessarily partisan, so I'm not listening to a show like this, and I hear promises of no foreign intervention and low gas prices, and man, gas prices 2 months ago or even a month ago were really low. I mean, we were getting down there. I pay for premium, Charles, and I was even happy with that. And now they're back up, and this timetable is being extended. I think that the risk is so.
I filled up my car a half an hour ago, my friend, so you do not have to convince me. But I do feel that there's a bit of a tick-tock attention span on all this. We want the war over very quickly, and that's understandable. But I think that let me say something I think has not been appreciated enough. I think that this is an incredibly courageous thing that Trump has done, because he knew there would be a price to pay at the pump. He knew that this wouldn't go all that quickly, or at least it might not. And he knew that even if it did, our experience is that successes in foreign policy don't pay off at the ballot box. So I think what he did, and he could have kicked the can down the road, because the problems with Iran, which are very serious, what they wanted to do was build all these missiles and use them as a protective shield around building a nuclear weapon, and then you couldn't go in and get them. He knew that really was unlikely to happen during his presidency. It would be the next president's problem, and he did it anyway. I think that took tremendous political courage.
I think it did too, but if the political result of that is handing the House and the Senate to the Democrats and not achieving the goals that were set out, and we don't know that yet, obviously, I think... Yeah, it's courageous. That's great. But if the courage lands up in the country heading in the tank again because of Democratic leadership, I think a lot of people are going to say, wait a second, especially if this thing turns into the Q word, which is quagmire. And I'm not rooting for that. And I want to, get rid of this administration too, or this regime in Iran. But let's face it, I think there are a lot of American people saying, how much more bombing of the crap out of them can we do? I mean, how can they even have any military capability left? But apparently they do.
Right. I think you've nailed the political problem right on the head. If this doesn't conclude in the next 2-3 weeks, if we're unable to open up the straits, my hunch is that when we open it, Trump will actually try to charge a fee for the oil. So that he repays the U.S. for all of its effort. There'll be a lot of pushback from the Europeans about that, and we'll just tell them buzz off. But there's tremendous political risk in this, and for understandable reasons,
Charles
as you said, Mark.
Yep, Charles Lipson is here, professor emeritus at the University of Chicago. He writes at charleslipson.com. Pam Bondi out today. That wasn't exactly, huge breaking news. She has been rumored to be perhaps on the outs with Trump for a while. They kind of gave her a soft landing, if you will. She's still actively, I think, working on the part of the administration. She's going to go into, the private sector in an undefined role. But, it's hard to know what to believe here. There's some reporting Trump was frustrated with her because of some of the Epstein stuff, and there was a report today that maybe she was too close to Eric Swalwell, who is running in California, who's a Democrat. So I don't know what the truth is, but Pam Bondi lasts barely a year as Attorney General.
Right. And the attacks from the Democrats are predictable. They're going to say that whoever comes in is going to do Trump's bidding, and that Bondi didn't in some way. Of course, they said she was nothing but Trump's foot soldier when she was in there. The problem ultimately is the Epstein files. These files have just been a drip, 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 and the fact that the Biden administration didn't do anything to let them out is yesterday's newspaper. It lines a birdcage. People want to see this stuff all out. There are literally millions of pages. It involves a lot of redactions because you want to protect the names of innocent young women, girls who were preyed upon sexually. But they've just got to resolve that, because we've got a lot more problems looking forward. And the rumor is Lee Zeldin could come in, but I thought from the very beginning when they brought in Todd Blanche as a co-number 2 with Dan Bongino that he was being positioned to replace her.
Yeah, and apparently that is what's happening temporarily. Todd Blanche is going to have the
Yes.
position. Zeldin's name has been mentioned. Look, I'd say why take him out of EPA? I think he's doing a good job there. Look,
Yes.
I would even
Yes.
say, I could make a very strong case for someone who's very close with the president, our former Attorney General, Senator Eric Schmidt. But look, I don't want to take him out of Missouri and go to that job. So I think he has options
Exactly.
here. And if Todd Blanche is where they settle, I think that's fine. Obviously, this would be someone, though, that has to go through a confirmation process,
Schmidt
right?
would be great.
He would be
Schmidt
great,
would
wouldn't
be
he?
Great.
Yeah.
But I hate to see him leave the Senate, and he could well be the next leader. There's a lot of movement to get rid of Thune.
Eric is great, and I've known him since 2008, and he just keeps it real, and he's a real person, and, he's authentic, and I think that's what people feel, and one of the reasons he's on, like, Laura Ingram's show and Fox so much because of that. But, I'd hate to lose him as a senator for Missouri, but he would be a great choice as Attorney General. And by the way, as we leave here, I just thought in honor of this great segment that you referenced at the beginning.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the straights of Hormuz and not the gays of Hormuz?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
Just feel like if we're gonna go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind.
Right,
I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to, the gays of Hormuz, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure.
I mean, that is just comedy gold. I'm sorry, that was great. Borat style.
It's just wonderful. But I think we do need to pay a lot more attention to the gays of Hormuz. And I might add, the transsexuals who've been completely overlooked.
Well, I know, and we're coming off of Trans Visibility Day, so how can we forget them? Charles Lipson, have a great weekend. We'll talk next week. See ya.
You too.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident southbound 170 before Ladue Road. Watch for that one in the right lane. And there was a stall northbound 270 past 6440. That one in the left lane. The big issue that crews have been dealing with this afternoon has been this accident right under the Kings Highway overpass. And they've got only one right lane getting by, and we just have a parking lot jam behind this. And it's almost back to Jefferson. It's past Compton. So that has put extra volume on the Forest Park Parkway and any alternate that anybody can think of. 70 westbound looks fine if you want to take that. It's a little slow at Jennings Station Road. What looks great is 44. And 44 looks fine, and then you get out to 270 and you try to go north and you run into that jam from the stall at 64. And that jam goes back almost to Doherty Ferry. Southbound traffic there slowing at Ladue Road. 55, a little slow at Bates and some moderate volume right at 141, a little bit at Z. And out west, 6440 just slow at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. We look fine on the Poplar Street Bridge, a little slow coming off the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Thank you, Sue. I want to talk about Throttle Net. We do this great segment on Tuesdays that we started a couple of months ago, and it's been so much fun. And we were originally going to do it every other Tuesday, but there's just so much content from our friend George Rosenthal at ThrottleNet, and he's just an expert on all things AI, computer-related IT. Now, the company that he has here and that he helped found, ThrottleNet, they can help you as a business owner. So they're not a web company. They're not going to give you, Wi-Fi, but you're going to use them to prevent yourself from being destroyed or brought to your knees by a cyber threat, because those are not just big company problems. Small and mid-sized St. Louis businesses are targeted every day, and they have a great way for you to test out where you stand. They offer you a free baseline IT security audit that's going to give you a very clear starting point within minutes. You can go to throttlenet.com/971 to get that. It's a real practical way to understand what your real-world risk is without the guesswork. And you cannot improve your cybersecurity if you don't know your baseline. That's why they do this. They have a great company here in St. Louis. They've been doing it for a long time, providing IT everything. They don't just fix problems, they provide you with full IT strategy, security, and IT support so you can focus on what you do best. So check out ThrottleNet today. Again, take advantage of the free baseline IT security audit. Real simple way to get clarity on your cybersecurity risks. ThrottleNet.com/971.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley, and this is the sound of our attorneys walking into court. Because when an insurance company offers a lowball settlement, we go to trial, prepping endlessly, interviewing witnesses. We know the loss and the cost of an accident, and when it's needed, we go to war for you and take the fight to the insurance company. Because we've been in your shoes. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis conservative.
All right, we have Heather McDonald on here in just a few minutes. Heather's awesome. We've had her on for years talking about crime. She really, is a truth talker, straight talker when it comes to the real issue of crime, what's causing it, and, how the numbers have been faked here in St. Louis and elsewhere is just ridiculous. So, but this is a topic that's a little different than that because she wrote about homelessness and she was sort of focusing on what's happening in New York City with Mom Donnie. But look, we have some of the same issues here, and every major city in America has issues with homelessness, and the policies that are being, passed by, certainly New York is a perfect example of this with the progressive nonsense, but we have a board of aldermen here in St. Louis with, a communist president, board of aldermen, and Megan Green, and they don't really see the homeless people as an issue in downtown. They want to help them, which is fine. People want to help people in need, but they don't really care that they're, laying all over the place when people are in town or trying to go to baseball games. Now, having said that, and I will certainly share this with Heather, is we've done, I think I'll give Kara Spencer a lot of credit here because in the last year, since Tashara Jones has been gone, and I'm just judging this from homeless headquarters, which is right where I sit right now, in the 3 blocks where I sit near 13th and Olive and by, we're right between City Hall and the downtown library. And all 3 of the parks that surround this building have been open-air drug markets and homeless encampments. And, of course, they had them all set up at the old courthouse and around City Hall when Tashara was here. So I think they've done a good job of making sure that you don't have people that are just hanging out all the time. But it's a very complicated problem, and, of course, progressives don't want to really solve it. They just want to try to help people with social workers. A little bit on Artemis, because 24 hours ago, we were blasting off down at the Kennedy Space Center. The astronauts doing real well.
It was an amazing ride uphill. The views, we've got 2 moon rises that we've had so far, and the views of planet Earth. We've circled it complete, and we forgot how beautiful it is to look down on Earth.
Yeah, so far they are, going around Earth, and then they finally will get shot out in this slingshot deal and go around and, even get behind the dark side of the moon. Butch Wilmore is really interesting. He's been on Fox the last couple of days, former astronaut. He's written a book about all this. We're going to try to get him on next week, but he talked about what's next.
The translunar injection burn is the next big event. That'll put them on track, not just to the moon, but also that slingshot around the moon and all the way back to an eventual splashdown landing off the coast of San Diego. Thrilling times, these initial steps for what will come in the future, and our dominance, our nation's dominance of space is important as we go forward, and this is not just for now, this is for the decades to come.
So they had a little hiccup with communication at the beginning of the trip.
Uplink from Capcom to the crew was being heard by the crew, but we cannot hear the responses for a brief period of time. There were no issues with the vehicle itself. Comms with the crew have been restored. We're actively working the issue, and we'll keep you informed.
So I should probably save this for audio cut of the day, but I have something else. But I love that this was actually on CNN asking a kid who was down there at the Kennedy Space Center.
Why do you want to be here? Why do you love space? Why do you love being a part of history?
We're going back to the moon, that's why.
I mean, you can't beat that. That's the answer. Right there. Here's NASA's Clayton Anderson.
The local control helps them know that they can, how the spacecraft feels when they're flying it around. And that's important for this mission, but for the next missions when they're going to do rendezvous and docking activities, hopefully with the Blue Origin and the SpaceX lunar landers. And so anytime you can get in your new car and you can fly it around and test drive it, that's a good thing.
Yep. So they're test driving right now. The next steps to come. I said last night I was going to check the NASA website, and I never did that because I think NASA's website is probably pretty cool right now with all the updates on Artemis. All right, Heather McDonald is just around the corner. We have audio cut of the day. Tomorrow afternoon we'll have a well, a little different. In studio, no fish fry tomorrow, but we'll have a Reardon Roundtable. Former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch will be here. Jeff Rainford, former Chief of Staff for Mayor Slay, and Democrat consultant. We'll have all the regular stuff in the 4 o'clock hour. A Friday edition of Sue's News. Paul Hall on entertainment. I think it's tonight or first thing tomorrow, maybe right after midnight, that the Apple TV Plus, Your Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm, second season premieres. I'm very excited about that. I thought it was excellent last year, and James Marsden is joining the cast, and I think he is really, really good too, so we'll talk about that. Frank Cusimano takes us into the weekend. We did have one little bit of Mizzou news today. You know, all these players are deciding, and I think Coach Schertz lost someone at SLU a couple of days ago as well to the portal. Brady Dunlop decided to go to the portal. So Mizzou's had this kid, and he didn't play much last year. Trent Burns, he played a lot more this year. He's 7'5", and he's improving. And let's face it, not many teams have even 7'1" or 2 players. 7'5", one of the tallest in all of college basketball. But he reached an agreement, an NIL agreement, to return to the Tigers next season. So Frank's going to cover that tomorrow as we get into the 5 o'clock hour. I'm very excited about this, and sometimes I get too excited because things like this tend to fall through with big name rock stars and actors, etc. But actor, writer, I say director. What else is he? Everything. He does everything. Andrew McCarthy, one of the big stars of the 80s. He did a great documentary on the Brat Pack on Hulu from a couple of years ago. And he's written a book called Who Needs Friends? An unscientific examination of male friendship across America. It is something that's out right now, and he's going to talk about it at the Keating Center for Performing Arts in Kirkwood tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Let's see here. I wanted to make sure because Andrew was messaging me today, and we want to get the sponsors in correctly because he's at the Keating Center, but there's also a bookstore that is helping out with this, and he wanted to make sure that we mention that. But he's coming in the 5 o'clock hour, and then we'll have Neil Sosik from the Mighty Pines also a little later this hour. The Mighty Pines, great St. Louis band, and they have a new album coming out. So the sponsorship is Novel Neighbor Bookstore, the Keating Center, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Andrew McCarthy, he'll be here in the 5 o'clock hour.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a stall now. Okay, we'll start with the good news. The accident westbound 6440 under Kings Highway has been cleared. All lanes are open. Now we have a stall before you get to Kings Highway. Now they've just moved that one off to the shoulder, but it's preventing the quick unwinding of traffic in that area. And we've got slower traffic on Manchester as drivers have used that as an alternate. Westbound 70, moderate volume at Jennings Station Road. 6440 lines up again from Lindbergh out through 270. And 270 is jammed at both directions near Ladue Road. Out west, 64, a little slow at Prospect. Now, there's some volume on southbound 55, mainly headed for 141. And if you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the Poplar Street Bridge, but slow on 70 eastbound at 64. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
I was looking at the monitor in here with Channel 4, and there were some really, really big winds that were whipping up. Now, nothing that would take down power lines, I don't think, this week, but we do have storms that have been in the area. We know how spring can be, and we're coming up on the one-year anniversary of the big tornado. I want to recommend something that really kind of is a no-brainer here if you live in St. Louis, especially considering where, the power grid is and infrastructure. You can get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. I've mentioned many times I remember this company because I lived in Milwaukee 20 years ago, and Generac was located, I believe, in Waukesha, which is right outside of Milwaukee, one of the suburbs. It's great quality generators. They're not portables. You can get generators that are installed from HVAC and electricians, and they're not going to offer you things that are code compliant. Sometimes they cheap out on the installation, and they don't maintain and monitor the Generac standby generator like they do at Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. So you're not going to get your certified service if you go elsewhere. They're going to take great care of you. They have payment plans with low monthly payments. If you're interested in a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator, financing again available, call 314-499-2020 or Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
5:35. This portion of the show on a Thursday is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Midwest Made. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Easter weekend, obviously Good Friday. My daughter is off school tomorrow. Some schools off on Monday as well. It's been amazing to me. Let me just make a quick entertainment recommendation because Paul Hall will be here talking movies and streaming, as I mentioned, tomorrow at 4:30. But I've mentioned the movie Project Hail Mary to 3 different people this week who were unfamiliar with it completely. It's the Ryan Gosling film. That's why I referenced Ryan yesterday being on Artemis 2. That was a bit of a joke. But it was a movie that opened last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I think, at this point. $80 million. You can still find it in the theaters. It's a great movie. It really, really is. A little too long. My daughter's 11. She went to it. It's PG-13. The only thing that really makes it PG-13 is the intense scenes in the spacecraft, and it's perfectly paired with the Artemis 2 mission, even though it's fiction, but it is a lot of fun, Project Hail Mary. So if you're even someone who, believe me, there's a lot of crap that gets released in the theaters. I know the Mario movie is out. I have no interest in that, but Project Hail Mary is solid, and I think you would like it, especially if you've been turned off by Hollywood a little bit. Heather McDonald is back with us this afternoon. She's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. She's written a book called When Race Trumps Merit, How the Pursuit of Equity Sacrifices Excellence, Destroys Beauty, and Threatens Lives. By the way, that book is just out in paperback. Heather, welcome back. How are you this afternoon?
Great to be with you, Mark. Thank you so much.
You wrote a piece about homelessness and policy in New York City. Look, we're a much, much smaller city here in St. Louis, but we have some of the same challenges with homeless people. And one of the things that was quite, as you highlighted this piece that was written by someone in the New York Times, where she says something like, spotting vagrants in the urban landscape suggests is a specialized skill possessed only by trained professionals. She says it's something you can't exactly teach. How to spot the homeless New Yorkers trying to blend into the night. People resting on bus stop benches, curled up on doorsteps, tucked in the shadows of scaffolding. I'm no expert, Heather, but I can tell you who's homeless here in St. Louis just by kind of driving around town. It's not that hard.
Well, we've been asked to accept an entire set of fictions that guarantee that this problem is never going to be solved. And that was a new one to me. You know, I've never heard anybody claim that vagrants are not, in fact, the most prominent aspect of the modern urban landscape. But this reporter is in the usual advocacy bubble that treats this as a very difficult problem to solve. It is not. It's quite simple. You enforce basic common rules of order. You do not allow street colonization. And New Yorkers, and I'm sure the residents of St. Louis as well, would only wish that the homeless would be better camouflaged because, again, young children have to go past people shooting up drugs on their way to school. Employees have to walk over the feces that have been left outside their doorstep. The hardworking, law-abiding people, they're the ones who are invisible to the New York Times. They're the ones that have no representation, no existence ever in the usual mainstream media article about homelessness. All you ever hear about is the so-called homeless, which are really vagrants and bums, complaining about they're not getting enough goodies. You get the advocates complaining that the taxpayers are not spending enough on those goodies, and then you get the reporters reporting on all of this, and the people that have to live with this scourge are basically written out of the narrative and the equation.
Of course they are. It's awful. And obviously it's not as bad here as it is in New York or, San Francisco or Chicago, but still we have our own problems. Now, you highlighted something that they were doing in New York City. It's called WARM. It stands for Winter Access Relief and Medical. And this was something that Mamdani tried here over this brutal winter and didn't work out so well, did it?
Well, the point of this is to say that this new outreach program that was highlighted in the Times article, the usual narrative is, we've got this new idea, which is homeless outreach. We're going to go and we're going to offer shelter and services to the homeless. And wow, what a great idea. This is all we've been doing for the last 30 years. That's all that homeless policy has consisted of. And it is destined to fail because it is based on the premise of vagrant autonomy. The nice little outreach workers, the feckless outreach workers, go around from encampment to encampment, vagrant to vagrant, saying, please, sir, would you accept shelter? Would you accept coming off and getting services, medical treatment? And by and large, most of them say no. This is a lifestyle choice to the extent that they have enough cognitive functioning to make a reasoned choice, but they want to be on the streets because of the easy accessibility of drugs. So it's not just that this one program didn't work in New York, it's that no outreach program works because they absolutely eschew the critical element, which is that of coercion.
Yeah, look, I've talked about this for decades, literally 4 decades. There's a guy here in Missouri named Larry Rice who's been a big homeless advocate for a long time. He was someone I interviewed when I was in journalism school back in 1985 in Columbia, Missouri. But one of the things, and by the way, when I lived there, I had homeless people that were literally outside of my home because I lived by a 7-Eleven and we had this can deposit thing, 5 cents a can. So the homeless people would gather the cans and they would get money. And, some of these guys were Vietnam vets, and they were certainly mentally challenged. But one of the things that I've always talked about, and you refer to this in your piece, is shelter resistance. And I think this is what you were talking about a little bit. A lot of these homeless people, they don't want to follow those rules in the shelters. There are shelters. There are warm blankets and beds. They don't like the rules. Plus, as you indicated, there's no access to drugs.
Right. But shelter resistance is absolutely denied by the advocates because they want to say, no, the problem is greedy taxpayers, ungenerous taxpayers. You're just not giving them what they want, which is no strings attached, subsidized apartments, no rent required, nothing, no sobriety required. Well, they won't even really take that up. But yeah, shelter resistance, I've seen this many times. I've gone around and interviewed the homeless. I've watched the police try and get them off the streets, and they always say no. They've got a life there. They get pizzas delivered to their boxes. They've got blankets. They've got more food than they can deal with. I mean, the amount of waste that you see in the streets of San Francisco people just throwing away like entire chickens that have been donated to them because they're already sated on all the food that's been offered. So we are enabling a lifestyle that is destructive. You know, if you want to do the compassion thing, it's destructive to the people themselves. It is absolutely not a form of dignity to be allowed to decompose on city streets with a drug addiction, mental illness problem, or in any conditions. But it's also really, really not compassionate to the people that are trying to move forward with their lives.
Yeah, look, we've got a little lucky. Like right where I am in the city of St. Louis, Heather, it's not the greatest area downtown. We've had some homeless encampments, and they have been cleared out, but what I saw, and literally I saw this when I was driving into work every day, is it was an open-air drug market. I mean, all the homeless people, we even talked to some of them. We had reporters from my former station, talk to them, and they indicated, they don't want to go into a shelter because they want the drugs, and they're out there begging in the middle of the streets. But we've gotten a little lucky with our new mayor, and we've had some success at cleaning some of this up. So I hope that other cities can follow suit. But look, you know as well as I do, that is not going to improve in New York City. It's only going to get worse with that leadership.
Oh, with his leadership, absolutely. Now, this is a will choice. It's a policy choice. It is not an inevitability. So it all depends on the leader and whether he's willing to protect the interests of the hardworking taxpayers or protect the interests of the antisocial. And Mandami is clearly on the side of the antisocial and views anybody with any property as leeches on humanity or something. So, no, it's going to get worse. And we'll see if we ever get to the point where we elect another Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, because he was the thing that saved New York City. But again, what has to be understood is this is a willed choice. It is not necessary. It is not inevitable. It can be solved by enforcing basic rules against public camping, against drug use in public. And we used to trust the police with the discretion to move people along. Again, we all know what the homeless look like. We all know, we can see the mental illness. There's a category in psychology called MICA, M-I-C-A. It refers to mentally ill chemical abusers. And the combination of mental illness and chemical abuse is very volatile. It's very dangerous, leads to high levels of violence. And the police were given the discretion to move these people along to Skid Rows, where there was cheap cage housing, the SRO, single-room occupancy, and we didn't, wrap them around with red tape and constitutional, phony, made-up constitutional rules, and we allowed them to use their discretion to make those judgments. All this can be solved if we just decide we want to.
Heather McDonald, thanks as always for coming on. By the way, give a plug for the paperback. The book is When Race Trumps Merit: How the Pursuit of Equity Sacrifices Excellence, Destroys Beauty, and Threatens Lives. We've talked about the book before, but now it's out in paperback, right?
Right, just came out in paperback with a new preface.
Awesome, Heather. Thank you so much. You have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mark.
I just wanted to mention one story. I was sharing the Columbia, Missouri situation. So when I lived in Columbia, when I was a student, this would have been circa 85, 86. I lived right downtown. For people who know downtown Columbia, back then there was a Greyhound bus station right across from where I lived. It was literally a block. Let's see if I can get the directions right. A block south of Harpo's. A lot of people know Harpo's. And back then they had the 5 cent, I think it was a 5 cent deposit on cans. So a lot of the homeless people would gather very near where I lived in this apartment at this house at the corner of 10th and Locust. And there was like this 7-Eleven right behind me. And the homeless dudes would sit on my stoop, if you will. I had like these steps that went up to my apartment. So I would engage with them every once in a while. There was a guy named Mike that I got to know very well. He was a Vietnam vet, and he was mentally ill. He wasn't super whacked out crazy. He was actually a pretty good dude. He actually turned in, this is a true story, there was another homeless guy that slipped into my apartment and stole some things, and Mike, the guy that I got to know, ratted him out, and he got arrested. But the one thing that really, stands out, and this was just one of those things that, but for the grace of God, I was living in that apartment, and this was my first not full-time, but my first real commercial radio gig. I worked at KFMZ, which was a rock station. And one morning, had to be a weekend morning, I was up, it was dark. I literally take a step out of my apartment, and I'm walking to work because I'm living downtown, and the station is really about 3 blocks away from where I live. Well, when I left the apartment to take kind of the turn around the apartment into the parking lot to take my shortcut, one of the homeless guys that I knew, he was always hanging outside of my house, because of the 7-Eleven. He pulled a knife on me and almost stabbed me, not because he wanted to, but because I scared the crap out of him. I startled him. He was wasted drunk, and it's like 5 a.m. or whatever it was, and he pulls a knife on me. I'm like, whoa! Luckily, didn't get stabbed, but that was one of those things that I always think about when I talk about homeless people.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got volume out there. If you are a westbound 6440 driver, things are much better. So it's slow, but it's only Kings Highway in pockets out through 270. And to the west of there, it's much better. But there is an accident reported on westbound 70. And this one isn't too far from David Hochul Parkway. It's right before there. Look for that one in the right lane. That has created a jam. 70 out of downtown, though, isn't bad. And we've got 270 jammed in both directions, especially northbound, at right just a little bit north of 64. Now, eastbound 40 is slowing at Big Bend, but it looks fine at the Poplar. 55 is not bad out of downtown. On the Illinois side, 64 east, well, it's actually eastbound 70 that's slowing at 64. So be careful through there. That is due to road work. This report brought to you by i3 Broadband. Spring is here. Time to toss out that dusty treadmill and your laggy cable internet. Upgrade to 100% in-home fiber from i3 Broadband. They're springing forward with their longest price guarantees ever on their gig speed internet services. No data caps, just pure speed. Visit i3broadband.com/radio and start your spring off right. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So it's a clip that went viral today, and certainly a lot of people here in St. Louis took note because it happened during the Cardinals-Mets game yesterday, and the Mets broadcast team was making some observations, shall we say, about downtown St. Louis. We're definitely going to talk about this on the roundtable tomorrow, but that audio is audio cut of the day. If you haven't heard it, it's coming up next.
Never miss a beat. Take 97.1 FM Talk with you. The voices you trust, Mark Cox, Annie Fry, Mark Reardon, Scott Jennings, and more are just a tap away with the Odyssey app. Stream 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tax deadlines to remember for your 2025 return. I'm Brian Brenberg, co-host of The Big Money Show with your Fox Business Tax Tip. The IRS began accepting returns on January 26th, but the last day to file your return is Wednesday, April 15th. And if you need an extension, your request will need to be in before then. For extensions, you or your accountant must file Form 4868 to extend your filing by 6 months. But tax attorney Rebecca Walzer warns this won't give more time for what you owe.
A lot of people think I filed an extension, so the actual payment is not due, and that's not correct. They have two separate penalties of a failure to file, but you also have a failure to pay, and that failure to pay would be implicated even if you have an extension.
Brian Brenberg, Fox News.
Straight Realty has always been an industry leader when it comes to commissions, so it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me, 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Renewal by Andersen is the #1 window and door brand for customer service. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 877-WINDOWS. That's 877-WINDOWS. Or head to rbastl.com.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, DRURY law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Well, I think we're going to have a pretty good Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. Great panel. Jeff Rainford will be here, who is a Democrat consultant, used to be the chief of staff for Mayor Slay, very tied in still to the city. And then also Chief Fitch will be here, former St. Louis County Police Chief. A lot to talk about, from what's happening in Iran, the president's speech last night, the firing of Pam Bondi, where they kind of gave her an off-ramp today. There are gas prices that are spiking. And then there's this. And I'm going to have to use this for audio cut of the day, so we'll explain it.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
A lot of reaction to this today. It's gone quite viral, especially with folks here in St. Louis. So the Cardinals played a day game against the Mets yesterday. They won the series against the Mets, 2 out of 3 to open the season against both teams, the Rays and the Mets. So it's a good start for the Cardinals. But on the Mets broadcast team, which featured, by the way, a guy named Gary Cohen and then also Todd Zeile, former Cardinal from the 1980s, they just made some observations during the game, and it caught some people's attention.
The only thing missing from that picture, as is often missing from every picture we show of downtown St. Louis, no people.
No people. Well, you know, they wanted to look picturesque. You can see a car driving by on the right. That's the only sign of life.
But there's never anybody walking around in downtown St. Louis.
It's not very often, you're right.
It's like, remember the old neutron bomb that wouldn't knock down buildings but just would eliminate all the people? It's like one of those hit St. Louis.
I guess it's just a photo op. People then run and hide, so they're not in the photo.
I mean, a lot of people have reacted negatively to that, but I hate to tell you, but those guys are calling it like they see it. That's the perception that people have. I mentioned earlier in the show, comedian Bill Burr, when I saw him, this was a couple of times ago, he's been here since, but he was at the Fox and he opened up St. Louis, and he was like, what in the world, is The Walking Dead filmed here? Because he saw no people. In order to have people, you need people to live downtown. For the most part, that does not happen. In order to have people, you need people to work downtown. That has dramatically changed. Some of that due to COVID, but we know that Channel 4 got out of downtown. Channel 5 got out of downtown. We're going to get out of downtown. Odyssey can't wait to move us out of downtown. That does not mean out of the city, but they know that it's unsafe right here. So it's an embarrassing situation. And I think those guys, Gary and Todd Zeile, they're just reacting to the reality of what's happening. So instead of being, someone who bitches about it or says that's insulting, or somebody, I think, tweeted something out, Fox did, about bizarre comments. They're not bizarre comments. This is nothing new. It's something that's existed for a while. And there's nothing more that I would like to see than St. Louis turn around. I've lived here more than any place in my life. I love the Cardinals. I love the community. I love bringing up my family here. There's a lower cost of living. But this city has major problems. And we keep talking about the same crap over and over and over. I mean, it's going to be like Groundhog Day on the roundtable tomorrow when I play that soundbite. And, I hope that the Mets and other broadcast teams can come to Busch Stadium in the future and actually see people. I just think we have too many challenges right now, and I hate to be so negative. But again, we will chew on it tomorrow on the Reardon Roundtable. Paul Hall in the 4 o'clock hour with Frank Cusimano. Actor, director, writer Andrew McCarthy, who has written a book called Who Needs Friends, and will be at the Keating Center for Performing Arts at Kirkwood High School tomorrow night. He joins us at 5 tomorrow.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch out for emergency vehicles. MoDOT reporting them westbound 44 before Elm on the right side. And another accident westbound 6440, this one before Kings Highway. Watch for that in the right lane. Most of the volume right now is westbound on 70. There was an accident not that far from David Houck Parkway, and that has created a jam behind it. Now we're getting reports of an accident northbound 270 past 64, and that has been blocking a traffic lane, the left lane. And that's the biggest jam we've got, that and westbound 70 at David Houck. And the northbound 270 jam goes back through Manchester. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. 100 years. That's how long they have been repairing and replacing garage doors. They do same-day repair service and no extra charge for evening or Saturday service. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com.
I get it. You need cash. Things are expensive. You have equity in your home. You don't want to tap into it. Why? Because the rates are too high. Well, no. If you look at the bagel loan from Stewart's American Mortgage, Stewie's going to give you an opportunity to save thousands of dollars, because the difference that you get with what he calls the bagel loan, it's a bagel loan because it looks like zero, because you pay zero in fees that the other lenders charge for. So when you refi, don't get a home equity line of credit. He'll tell you that's the wrong thing to do. Refi, great time to do it. You pay no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees. If you buy a home, if you're taking out a loan for more than $200,000, you pay zero lender fees. One advantage that Stewie has, it's him and his son, Jordan. That's the operation. You're going to go right to them, not through customer service lines. They do all the loans themselves. They can close very quickly. They have an advantage over other lenders. Quick closes in as little as 10 days. So the other thing that he likes to point out is when you're negotiating on a new home, you have to show an approval for a higher loan value sometimes. With Stewie, you can change your own pre-approval letter. He'll guide you through that. So Google the bagel loan or call or text his personal cell number, 314-324-4440, NMLS number 226715.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms